I'm in Salad, the absolute unit.
I am Trixie, the Golden Witch, the most famous anime fan.
Hot off the grill, I'm Bird, and I am gonna get you to buy me a drink.
And this is the new Voidgazers Podcast. We have opinions about things, and now you can subscribe and download the podcast to hear about those opinions. Riley is out this episode, recording music with legendary hip-hop producer Cranberry Dave. So I am your host, Mint Salad, the absolute unit.
Yay! It's the Mint! I've always wanted Mint Toast, and now I've got Mint Toast.
Mint toast?
Mint Host.
Mint Toast.
Like the Hostess snacks where the Twinkies are full of mint sauce.
Not like toast with mint jelly on it.
No.
Okay, I see.
The new Voidgazers Podcast has a voicemail and a new episode weekly. Go call 202-681-8643 or 202-681-VOID.
Void.
So, Trixie, how's your week been?
It's been pretty good. For someone who spends all of my time indoors working, and not really doing a whole lot of variety of things, the working has been surprisingly fun for the past week. And well, I should say the past month, because I kind of got on this kick somewhat inspired by you, Mint Salad. You did a video every single day last month. And
it was very difficult, but I did it. You're doing it too.
I'm not doing that. I have not done a video every day, so I won't lay claim to it. I think I've done something like 14 in 25 days, so there's definitely been some
impressive.
mistakes. But it's, I saw you do that, and I thought, like, man, I've done a video every day in the past, but I made it like it was such an ordeal. Because, it is, especially in watching you do it, I was surprised, like, that you were able to actually go through with it and do it every day just as such a new creator and, like, sort of finding your footing and doing these types of reviews.
Yeah. It's really just a thing about routine. You just got to establish, okay, this is the time frame which I'm going to watch a movie, record a movie. It helps to have all of this stuff done kind of early on. When I first started the reviews, I had about like 6 videos already recorded before the end of February. And then I started recording all of those videos along the road trip to LA. And that's where I got some of those nice artsy shots. And then I just recorded a video every day pretty much when I got home and made a game out of trying to figure out which is the best place to film, since I only had a limited spot and I didn't have that many options of cool framing, so it was just fun to get creative with that. It was a fun challenge. I definitely recommend it.
You got really creative with the outfits, which is like my favorite part, is that like not only that it's a different camera angle, but you're almost always wearing some kind of costume or something relevant to the movie, even just in a slant way. The Thor and Batman, Thormint and Batmint, I should say.
Yes, Thor
are my favorites.
Yes, Batmint was definitely my favorite costume because that's an actual Batman costume that I bought. The other ones were just pieces of costumes from other sets and just random clothes that I had laying about.
Yeah, how cheap Halloween or I shouldn't even say that because that would imply you bought it. It's even more so like a homemade DIY. This kind of looks like the character, but it passes. It works. The Mint Thor was convincing, in my opinion.
All I needed was the cape, and that's how that happened. I mean, that cape, fun story about that cape. That cape is part of this set of... That cape is part of the set of stripper clothes. Like, actual strippers wear it, and there's, like, a cape, and we got that just for the cape, and it was the best purchase ever, honestly. Honestly, I just love seeing Riley wearing the cape with the Versace, because it's like a $17 cape with a $1,000 hoodie. Yeah. What a great combo.
It looks amazing. And the color scheme matches so well that it feels like they were meant to be those two items. I like particularly that look in the video for the song we did together, No Regrets. He's wearing that outfit and doing like combat rolls and stuff. It's really funny. But yeah, I'm also a big fan of the cape look. I, of course, always wear this robe. You can see it in my last couple of vlogs. And it's funny because I've always sort of been known to wear robes and like pajama pants and stuff around. But like that particular robe was given to me recently by an older lady who I befriended. And like immediately I thought, this is the Golden Witch robe. It's actually gold. Like the fact that it's a robe makes it something that fits my character because like the design of it is ostentatious, but it is obviously cheap and like homey and comfortable and like it's not a fashion brand. It's obviously, like something you pick up at a department store, but I've never seen anything else quite like it. And she bought it for me because of the fact that it says sleep in late on the back. And I had been sleeping in late, like constantly. Like, I would wake up around noon every day. She woke up 3-4 hours earlier than me. So, and she was living with us at the time. So, that was the impetus behind her buying it for me. And, I immediately took to it, and because it's been cold relatively in the house, I'm always wearing that fucking robe. Like, legit, that's not just Trixie the Golden Witch, the character's robe. That is my all the time, every day. Catch me, you're gonna catch me in the robe. Unless I'm, I don't always wear it out or anything.
Right.
Not since we stopped wearing masks.
Yeah. Speaking of things before we get into the videos, I got this blanket that Riley commissioned Faith Vickers to actually design. It's our ASC Presents logo, and it's like she hand quilted this herself, and so I got it, and I've just been wearing that all around the house. It's always super cold because a legendary hip-hop producer, Cranberry Dave, loves the cold, and I don't have a lot of cold insulation stuff like on my body at all.
It's only on the chest. Nowhere else.
This is the warmest. Insulated. This is the warmest place on my body is my chest. Everything else, I'm super cold. It's probably one of the disadvantages of being so skinny. I'm always cold. Even when it's warm, I'm always cold.
I gotta say, I think that the reason you would make such a good Lady Thor is that you are the skinniest woman I've ever seen that I still am convinced could kick my ass. So like when I saw you at Storc, I was like, Natalie Portman looks like a leaf that a soft breeze would take away. And I could understand maybe thinking like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if you were like a tiny lady, but you're super strong like Thor. But it's not menacing. It's not inspiring. She does not look like a hero to me.
Right.
Mint Salad looks like a hero. Mint looks like like she would be a good superhero, and the giant boobs definitely help because obviously that's more true to comic books. I'm just saying.
That's where all the power comes from.
Yes, exactly.
I'm just telling you, yeah.
Until we get Mint Salad cast as at least Power Girl, then everyone's fucking up.
Exactly. But
I'd take Lady Thor Mint also and Batmint. It's not even like Batwoman. It's just Batmint is the name of the movie.
Just Batmint.
Yeah. Bird?
Hey, how's it going? What superhero would I like to see Mint Salad as? That's a wonderful question. I'm glad you asked it. And I'd have to say my answer is Booster Gold.
Mint Salad Booster Gold.
I've never heard of Booster Gold. Who is Booster Gold?
You're probably going to get a lecture after this podcast.
I've only seen him in Batman the Brave and the Bold, but he's just like a futuristic superhero who has a little robot with him, and he shoots golden rays and stuff.
He's one of the like
he's like, kind of a dork.
Anybody who's like a deep tier comic book fan, he's like the most beloved superhero on he's DC, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, he's like everybody's favorite DC hero, basically.
Or Dr. Fate. Dr. Fate would be a fun Mint thing.
I do not even know Dr. Fate. I think I'm going to get a lecture in a second.
Dr. Fate, he's a guy, he was an archaeologist who discovered a mask, and now he has weird Egypt powers. I'm paraphrasing.
Okay.
Whoa, weird Egypt powers. That sounds like a cool power.
It sounds
set.
relevant
I want
to your interests, yeah.
Well, so
Yeah.
he basically just has magic, but every time he does the magic, an Ankh appears. Do you know what an Ankh is?
Yes, because I watched Yu-Gi-Oh! And by the way, the world's not ready for the level of hype that is going to be. I'm going to start building it up now, and this is the right place to do it for Anime Alphabet Yu-Gi-Oh! Because that's where where I'm pulling all the stops to really go all out and talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! And after that, I think it's going to be time to full on embrace Yu-Gi-Oh! As just like a whole time aesthetic, as like a
Yes.
it's Yu-Gi-Oh! From now on. Like that's just like I want a meme of like us in some kind of outfits with like crazy fucked up hair and the caption
Yu-Gi-Oh!
like looking but just any kind of crazy Yu-Gi-Oh! Hair and all of us just like looking really hard at the camera holding decks of cards and like posing, and it just says in text like it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Now. Like it's just Yu-Gi-Oh! Now.
Man, that's... I have not seen Yu-Gi-Oh! I've played a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! But
Oh boy, you
I
would
actually
enjoy
kicked-
Yu-Gi-Oh!
I've kicked the ass of Riley many times at Yu-Gi-Oh!
I don't
And-
believe
Really?
that.
Oh,
Mint, stop
really?
lying.
Oh, no, we got a duel, all right? We got a duel.
No, I don't want to duel with
My
you.
fucking deck is in the glove box of Bird's car right now and at all times. I am ready to fucking duel. I'm ready to throw down. All my cards are in they're in little sleeves of Mayoi from Bakemonogatari, and they look cute as hell. And the deck is old as shit. All of my cards are from like
Amazing.
before 2006 at the latest, probably.
Oh my god.
My deck's got 3 blue eyes and an ultimate dragon, couple Kaiser seahorses. It's basically a blue eyes deck.
Kaiser seahorses? That's problematic.
Is
I bet you're not going to defeat my Dark Magician. My Dark
I
Magician
beg to
deck
differ.
is my best deck, alright? We can pwn each other
all
in
right? Well,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
we'll have
all
a
day
proper
long.
fucking Yugi versus Kaiba match then, because
Mint is Kaiba, absolutely.
no, she's got the Dark Magician deck. She's
Yeah, but
Yugi.
Mint has Kaiba.
But Kaiba's
energy.
my idol. I think Mint has Yugi energy.
Really? I haven't seen Yu-Gi-Oh!
I could see saying Riley has Kaiba energy, but
Sure.
I don't know about Mint. I have more Kaiba than Yugi, but I don't think I would probably more of like a Merrick. Well, maybe you would be a Merrick.
Who's Merrick?
Merrick's like he's like half the time like he's introduced as like, oh, he's this posh little British guy who's very nice and he's friends with everyone, but actually he's got an evil Egyptian
this
man
guy.
inside
Yeah.
of him that's
Yeah,
going
this
to
guy
kill
was cool.
everyone. Yeah, he's
remember
pretty
him.
cool.
Speaking of Yu-Gi-Oh! You've been covering other anime videos.
Yes.
You have a lot of videos. What are the videos
do.
you've been doing?
So first of all, I want to talk about what inspired this beyond just you, because you doing the thing every day all month was it definitely put me in like the mindset of like Mint is working way harder than me. Like I literally had that thought. Like this is like hard evidence because I know what it takes to do that, and I know you work a full-time job, you help out around the house, you do all kinds of shit, and you made a video every day. So I just looked at that and I was like, okay. Like, I'm going to feel like a real piece of shit if I let Mint, like, work this much harder than me. And then...
We having a competition on how many videos we can put up? We better actually have one.
If you... I mean, if we're talking just vlogs, you have filmed me do 30 vlog videos in a day before, so you know what I'm capable of with all the rap reviews.
All right, bet.
But we could try. But yeah, so like it was that, and then we're trying to buy a place, and money is tight, and everything's expensive. It's not a time to even be trying to buy a house, but it's kind of like, well, I need a fucking place. So we're just trying to make as much money as possible, as fast as possible, and I make way more off of ad revenue now, because for the first 6 years of my career or whatever, when I was still a fan of Maddox and was an absolute
man.
idiot fucktard. I didn't put...
We've all been there, Trixie. It's okay. We're all fans of Maddox at some point.
Not everybody. Some people are like,
name
you were
who?
a fan of Maddox? I've Monkey Jones actually was never a fan of Maddox. But,
okay.
I was never a fan of Maddox.
I figured you would say that too, but I didn't want to speak for you when you're sitting right there. But anyway, yeah, like he was anti-ads his whole career, and I was like, it's weird because when I first got onto YouTube, part of my excitement was that nobody had to pay me. Like, my thought was, I'm just taking money from corporations by running ads. Nobody has to give me any money. This is perfect. But then I started losing monetization on videos all the time. And, you know, it took years before I developed the techniques I use now to keep my videos as up as they are, and they still get taken down constantly. So I'm still having to evolve and find new ways to keep my fucking videos from getting, blocked or demonetized and stuff like that. When I said earlier that I've only done like 15 as opposed to a video every day, that's the biggest reason why, is every time a video gets blocked, it's such a fucking like, it feels like a boulder just lands on me. Like I'm already carrying one and then another one lands and I'm like, Sisyphus had one boulder. Okay. This is not right. But you know, I love all my boulders because that's
more like Sisyphus.
One must imagine I do. Yeah, I was like, okay, I gotta just fucking keep bowling through all these videos. And it just so happened that it was March 30th when I had this whole decision of like, oh, I'm gonna fucking go for it. And that's when the spring anime season begins, because anime seasons,
perfect timing.
Yes, exactly. Anime seasons begin in January, April. What is the next one? July, and then September. That sounds right. And so, or no, October would be the last one. So yeah, like when
it's not quarterly.
That is quarterly. Those are 4 quarters I just named. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, okay, well, continue.
Okay, quarterly, yes. My Dress Up Darling is Beautifully Basic was the first video I made because it was the most popular show that just ended of all the winter anime. And this is a strategy I've been using since like 2016 of just a season ends, you can easily marathon each show in an afternoon a piece and write about them and get a video edited as soon as the show's over. And that tends to be like the peak relevant moment of that show because lots of people don't like watching seasonal anime, but lots of people keep tabs on what's airing or they check stuff out when it first starts and they finish it right after it's over. And usually when the reviews start coming out is what makes people realize that the show is over. Then they go watch it, then they come back and watch the reviews. So to me, it's always been very powerful to get the reviews of the most popular shows out right as they're ending. And like, granted, it's also a good idea to get impression videos out early on in those shows if you already know it's going to be a big deal. Like Spy Family is the only one I've covered from this season so far because I was already familiar with the manga. I knew the show was going to be the biggest anime of the season and that it's probably going to be one of the biggest anime ever. And so I wanted to be on it as early as possible. But, you know, some of these seasonal shows, it's really hard to know how long it's going to be relevant for, where sometimes there's shows that, I know that last year, the like most watched shows, one of them was a show called Tokyo Revengers. I have not heard a single person talk about at all, even though it's like the most popular show of last winter. Somehow in my circles, no one's ever mentioned it. So part of me is like, well, I should obviously go back and cover this show because it was like the most watched show of last year. But if no one in my audience has ever mentioned it or asked me to talk about it or anything like that, then I just don't even think talking about it would do that much for me. And so like, yeah, my Dress Up Darling was this is the first of these videos, and it's up to 14,000 views right now, which is better than most of what I've been putting out because it is a very popular show and one that I knew a lot of my audience would be watching. And more than just my extant audience, it also appeals to the audience I'm trying to grow, which is to be very agender. I want there to be, equal amounts of women and men, or at least equal accessibility to women and men, and or anything in between or outside the boundaries thereof.
Is the audience for anime equal in gender? No. Well,
maybe, but the audience for anime YouTube isn't, and particularly for analytical content in general is like. So it's only more recently that there has started to be like more of an abundance of female voices in the analysis space, period. And so like it's only in the last couple years that I've started to find like girls doing analysis that I thought was really interesting on whatever subject it happens to be. There is some of that in the anime space. There is more trans women than women doing anime analysis, but there's lots of solid stuff going on, and like a lot of the early waves of that was very focused on like feminist critique of like, we're talking about what's problematic about anime and like being very political about it, because that was sort of the movement. I don't want to be political. I want to be psychological. My goal is like, what's the audience thinking? Why does this thing work for them? I'm trying to get into their heads. And so like, it used to be that I was trying to get into my own head. I would make a video that would be like, okay, what do I think works or doesn't work about this show? And then maybe like sort of touch on what I think the audience is supposed to get out of it if I've seen other people talk about it. Now it's more like I'm not really worried about what I think at all, because honestly, if it was up to me, I wouldn't be watching anime. I just would, like, regardless of how good it is, I'd be out in the mountains. This is my job. It just so happens that I like my job. So it's really funny to see the way that like people respond to it, because they say things like, oh, it's so good to see that you're like, as passionate about the medium as ever and all this kind of stuff. And it's not even that that's untrue. It's just I'm passionate in a very different way. I'm not passionate because it's like it used to be that like if I saw a show that was like a 10 out of 10, it's like, wow, this is a life-changing experience, and like this is a show I'm going to talk about and I'm going to think about all the time. Now like
moves you, right? Yeah.
Yes, it moves me in a way where I can't fully understand it. Like anything that I would have probably given a 10 to before, it tends to be that there's just like so much going on or so much nuance or so much to take in that I feel like I haven't wrapped my head around it fully. And so it feels just like so massive. And like Evangelion would be a good example of a show that I had to see lots of times and grow up a lot to feel like I understood everything that it was trying to say. And once I got to that point, it does make it a little bit less impressive to feel like, okay, I see all the working parts. I understand how this got made, and I understand that it's not perfect to its own standard. Like, it could have been better, but that doesn't mean it's not also better than everything else. And so I kind of look at stuff from that lens of like, well, it's not that anything is necessarily so amazing or that anything is so bad, because for anything to get made at all, it has to be actually pretty good. Like, for it to get popular and anybody to talk about it, it's probably pretty good.
Yeah, it has to have like some sort of intent behind it. Otherwise, it's just gonna get canceled immediately, or it's just gonna look like schlock. Like, you don't want to put like bad animators on a project who doesn't know how to animate something.
Those people will lose their jobs, and they're
not going to get any money for it. Yeah,
exactly, and eventually, anything that's so shitty that nobody likes it is just not going to get talked about. It's not going to get acknowledged. But there's the stuff that, gets heavily acknowledged and works for half the people and doesn't work for the other half. And that is still, overall, I think that's good. Like, that's good media. Even like, say, The Lion King. Because one of the exciting things that happened this week is YMS got out his 2 hour and 40-minute part 1 of his review of why the 2019 remake of The Lion King is so bad. And even
people think it's live action.
Yeah.
Just like watching that video, people are like, "Oh, this isn't live action." It's like, no, there's no real lions in this at all. It's 100% computer animated. The way that Scar moves, I do not like how his leg drags. I don't know. I do not like how the characters are animated in that at all. I just like... Yeah, I don't understand people who like it. I've just known a lot of people who like The Lion King blindly.
I understand it to some degree because I think that it is just nostalgia for the first movie that like people remember it, they love what they remember, and then they see it in what to them is like, wow, it looks photorealistic. It's crazy that technology's come so far that my childhood can be brought into adulthood. And then, you know, for new children, it's just like, whoa, talking lions. I don't think any children who saw this movie as their first exposure to Lion King will ever give a fuck about it when they grow up unless they see the original. But
it's just a shot-for-shot remake of the original. And
with somehow like 30 extra minutes added in somehow. I don't understand how that happened.
Oh, adding more stoic movement
exactly.
with no personality. It has to be as realistic as possible, so don't give any of the characters any facial emotions at all.
Yeah. If the cinematography has rhythm, it'll feel less like a documentary and therefore less interesting. I don't know.
No, it's supposed to be a documentary.
Yeah. It's so dumb. But at the same time, there was a scene in there where YMS shows the Japanese dub of the movie. And it was so much better that I actually kind of was like, that movie looks watchable. Like, just the conversation between the lions, between Scar and Mufasa had, like, way more impact. It felt like it should. It felt like what you would want from it. And so I was like, well, fuck, like, you know, it's still not, obviously not going to be as good as the original movie because of all the dumbass decisions that were made in you know, changing it. But I could see sitting through that movie and coming out of it like, yeah, all right, whatever, that was okay, you know, and not like thinking that it was some like absolute travesty, the way that it feels like watching, you know, what we actually got in America.
Yeah.
So
they had
like
fucking John Oliver as the voice actor.
Oh my
of the bird.
god, he's so obnoxious in that role. Yeah, he sucks.
He doesn't fit at all.
But like that is kind of, even that movie, like you could shit on it the way YMS does, and because that movie is based on an older one that you can draw a direct comparison to, it feels very fair to shit on it like that. And if yes, continue.
Also, it's just like, why would you try to remake a movie that everyone just loves? It's so beloved.
Because that's what Disney likes to do. Disney has been doing that for the past 5-6 years now.
Easy money. I mean, it's the same reason they made money. It's the same reason they made shitty sequels to all these movies in the first place. Like, I understand kind of being offended by a lot of these remakes, but at the same time, most of these movies were already ruined. Lion King had 2 fucking abysmal sequels
and
already.
A remake.
And a remake.
A bad song.
Yeah, so they're, you know, it's just what they do. As soon as they have a hit, they're going to milk everything they can off of it as, you know, cheaply as possible. And the only way to, like, there's always diminishing returns on how much you can milk out of an IP. But when you get to a certain point, then it's like, okay, all we have to do is update it graphically. Like, all we have to do is make, like, slap a fresh coat of paint on it, and it's this, you know, and it'll go. And I assume it worked. I think the movie made back its budget, probably, right? I don't think it was a failure. I feel like it
always does.
I don't know.
Or at least most of the time it does.
Some of the times they fail. Those, I know the Star Wars spin-offs were failures. Those weren't, you know, based on anything, but other than Star Wars. But yeah, like, my point basically is that sometimes it can be fun to shit on a bad movie like that, especially when it's like, you know, in reference to a movie that already exists that was great. I love my Psycho-Pass versus Psycho-Pass 2 series for that reason, and I'll probably do more stuff. Oh, I will do more stuff like that because I have the Cowboy Bebop video that I already have written in the editing stage. So yeah, that's very similar to this in that it's like shot for shot, here's how they fucked up everything. But even still, like I say in my video, like I understand liking this Cowboy Bebop adaptation. My mom liked it more than the original, or she's never seen the original show, but she liked the adaptation, and I get why, even though to me it's like a 1 out of 10 travesty that was one of the hardest things I've ever watched, you know? Yeah. So like,
I knew some people who liked it too. I didn't quite understand why they liked it, but
I don't know what you guys are hating about.
You said it was the worst thing you've ever seen in your life.
I would never say such things about my favorite show.
Yeah, come on. Why you gotta imply Bird being a hater?
I've never seen him hate anything he's seen as much as that, I don't think. By the
I
end
loved
of
it. It was my better than anything.
Yeah, I'm glad they canceled it because now.
Oh, they canceled it?
Yeah.
Oh.
They canceled it right away.
Bird, you're so sad.
Yeah, the stuff like that.
I wanted to see what was going to happen to Vicious's girlfriend, Julia.
God,
No,
fucking
never
who gives a shit at all? Stuff like
Ed.
that. It's fun to go in on.
Expanded on Ed.
But when it comes to stuff that that's just kind of bad in a really generic way that people aren't really talking about, I'd rather focus on what's good about it. Like, I'd rather focus on why people like it in spite of how bad it is. Or a balance.
You can always just pick apart the bad things about something, because there are bad things in everything, no matter how good it is.
Yes.
Or you can just appreciate the thing for being as good. You don't have to make it negative, because making stuff negative isn't necessary.
Or at least be it's one thing to be. This is something that Riley always points out, is some people will reject the premise of a thing instead of criticizing it on its own terms. Where if you're saying this would be great if it was a different thing, then it's well, then you're not, that's not fixing the problem. There's things you can change about the thing that will make it the best version of the thing without it not being the thing anymore. And so the second video I did in this series was Love of Kill's Weird Toxic Romance, which is about a bad show that I approached from the angle of okay, I get what's appealing about this, actually. I think this show has tons of appeal. It just botched it. And I broke down all the ways it botched it. And everybody agreed with me, because I wrote it in a way where if you were a fan of this series, then the response you will have is, well, the manga didn't fuck these things up. And that's a very powerful difference between I reject the premise of this story entirely, and I think this premise is fine, but it was bungled in the execution, and that leaves a lot of room for the audience to either say yeah, okay, I agree with you, I think the premise is cool, but they could have done this part better or this part better, or the manga was better, or I've given more thought to it because I'm a fan than you have as a new person just looking at it for the first time. But that openness to invite the fans to want to like the video even if I didn't love the show, that's very important to me. And so going forward from there, the next video I did, because of the fact that the Dress Up Darling video was successful, there were comments on that telling me to check out the anime Akebi Sailor Uniform, which was from the same studio, and people were that was the better show that they did that season. So I was all right. I checked it out, I loved it, I binged it in a night, I did a video. That video got blocked a day later, so it had to be re-uploaded later on. But yeah, so that was disappointing, but it's the first of several cases now where I have to, in my mind, account for that the original upload had 5,000 views. Now the new upload has 5,100 views. So does it have 10,000 views? How do I think about this? It's aggravating. The next one after that was Anime Fans Where Are You, which was basically my pitch to, because in looking for subjects of what should I talk about on this channel, the most inspiring way to find that is to go look for an anime community. Look for people who are already talking about shows, see what they're saying, and then react to that. And I used to get a lot more of that kind of stuff just kind of showing up in my Twitter feed or on Reddit. I'm not really a part of anything like that now. And after this video, I kind of realized people don't want an anime community. They want to, my viewers just want to be in my comment section. They just want to talk to me about anime. They don't want to
be in your community as a YouTube channel?
Yeah. Well, and even more than that, because I'm always trying to inspire my audience to talk to each other more. If you don't have friends, talk to another fan of me, because they're all very, the number of people who tell me
thing to talk about.
Well, and just the number of people who contact me and say, you're the only person who thinks like me. And it's buddy, 50 other people have said that. So you got a lot of options, actually. But, I'm the only one doing it publicly in a front-facing way. But it very much is a gathering point for anybody who is interested in having discussions about the topics I'm bringing up. This is a great reason for them to all be in one place. And I had considered making a forum or doing something like that. But in the end, I kind of realized my comment section's actually perfect. It's exactly the way I want it to be. It's just I basically I wanted to invite my audience to be able to influence what I'm going to cover more directly, where we can all kind of watch shows together and we can follow the same train of thought, because it tends to be that I'm just in my own world. I discover something, I go into all this research, I make a video, then the audience sees it and they get excited about it. And so I was kind of like, well, what are you guys already excited about? I want to meet you where you're at. And the response I got was mostly, we don't want that. We want you to bring us on a journey. We want you to go find shit to talk about and introduce us to shit, and then we go check it out, and then we have something to talk about. So that was
so you're like a curator for anime, basically, for these people?
Yes, very much so. That was an overwhelming amount of response I got to several, not only this video, but also when I was just asking people, like, what would you want me to talk about outside of anime? And, like, almost every response... NCIS? You want me to do an NCIS video?
I do.
Do you think I could do it competently based on how much I've seen, or would I have to watch more?
I think you could probably do it based on what you've seen, but I would like to show you a couple different episodes just based on what I think
filling in
important.
Like plot details and stuff like that. Yeah. I could probably talk about the characters pretty well in that show if I refreshed myself a bit. But yeah, like most of the that was more of what I was looking for, was people literally telling me specific shows they wanted me to cover, or like a book that they've read.
Hell on Wheels.
And almost all the response I got was anything you are passionate about. And like, I didn't know how to explain to people how fucking unhelpful that is. I'm passionate about talking about stuff. I'm not passionate about anything other than talking about it. I don't give a fuck about stuff other people make. Like, you know, it's about the fact that there's something interesting to say. So, you know, I'm exaggerating for comedic effect here, but like it was very frustrating to me that I was like, no, just tell me a show. I can find passion for it, you know, or if I don't, I won't talk about it. But, you know, I'm looking for recommendations.
I'm really glad that my audience just gives the movies that they want to see, and I watch them, and I'm like, hey,
that's helpful.
Good movie, or hey, bad movie, stuff like that. That's actually really helpful. I'm the type of person who's good at executing things, like ideas, like a movie review, but doesn't have any clue on which movie to watch.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the type of person who's scrolling through Netflix, just like, okay, none of these covers are very interesting to me. I'm just going to be scrolling for like solid 15 minutes without picking anything, and then I'm just going to go draw something else. That's kind of my experience through just living in general.
Yeah, same here, though. I spend so fucking much time looking for what to watch, especially on YouTube, because like when it comes to like Netflix and like media, I feel the need to pay my full attention. Like I have to consume this thing, I have to understand what it's trying to say, or else I'm not going to get anything out of it. When it comes to YouTube, it's easier to kind of have it on in the background and do other things, think about other things. So I like to have a lot of YouTube playing while I'm kind of going about my everyday life, but it still has to be engaging. Like if it's not engaging enough to work as background music, I'll get annoyed and I'll turn it off. So I'll spend so long looking for fucking stuff to watch. But this week's been great. I got an 8-hour Bomberman Retrospective, which I couldn't have even dreamed would happen, but I'm so happy about it. There were somehow 2 different ranking every Kirby game videos. I recommend the one from Ant Dude, which was his 500,000 subs celebration. It's like an hour long.
Okay.
There's the YMS video we already talked about. Kino just put out a Nick Cage video. He's been on a roll with his Literally Me series also.
Amazing. I have not watched that, but I want to watch it. What was it about?
It's just generally about Nick Cage's whole career. Just about how he's dope and recommending a bunch of his favorite Cage movies and performances.
Cool.
So yeah, it's been a great time for video content, even though it's still like every time I run out of something right now, I go back to the 8-hour Bomberman video that I've still got going. So I'm not quite in a total dearth yet. Continuing from there, on my videos I made, there was the next anime alphabet on Ninja Scroll, one of the first anime I ever saw. That was a lot of fun. That was probably the easiest one to do ever, not just because it's short, but because like the movie was so ingrained in my mind by the time I was editing it that it was very quick. Summer Ghost, that was like... So another thing, aside from anime that just ended, another thing that's helpful to me is I go on to streaming sites and I just like had my hand in a funny position and Bird puts the Nintendo Switch in my hand. Just like, what am I going to do with this? Anyway, I go onto these streaming sites and whatever just got uploaded, if it's like something weird I've never heard of, and especially if it's only one episode, I tend to investigate it. So like Summer Ghost was just some new 30-minute short film that I'm like, what the hell's this thing? And like I could tell it's something that is going to keep getting more popular. Like it's one of those videos that I know the more people find out about this movie and search for it, it'll eventually have like 50,000 views in 5 years' time, because it's just that kind of like weird cult movie based on like an independent creator who people are just now like starting to catch on to. So yeah, I think that kind of stuff is always really interesting to me to see in the long run what's going to happen with it.
Not to mention it's springtime, so the movie's time hasn't come yet.
You're right. Summer is not here.
It is not.
After that
It's
was
almost here, though.
my first upload of Spy Family is for Everyone. We already went over why I thought that was a good idea, and also just sometimes I get really lucky, and an anime is so fucking good that you can analyze the first episode for 10 minutes. And this was one of those cases where it was like just so strong that it was like, okay, I can actually do this. And like, that makes me feel like I couldn't do that for almost any other, just one like first episode of a new show just came out. No way I could write anywhere near as compelling of a 12-minute video about it as this one. My familiarity with the source material helped as well. And then next up was World's End Harem, another show that just ended. This has been one of my most successful videos at almost 20,000 views because it's about sex and just the fact that I went so in depth on what most people regarded as like just a kind of generic ecchi show that almost nobody was going to give any thought to, and I gave a lot of thought to it. So that was the first one out of this bunch that I feel like people were starting to be like impressed newly, because people know I can write good anime analysis. And so like in my comeback period, there's been a lot of people who are like, well, this isn't like that different from before. And there's certain people who are like, actually, this is way different. You've totally changed as a person. I love the new content way more and stuff like that. But to me, this World's End Harem video is kind of the moment, I think, when a lot of people started to really recognize like, wow, I don't think you could have written this 5 years ago, you know?
Yeah.
Because I couldn't have. I was totally like, it's very much about what my life has gone through in that time, you know? And then same goes for Aggressive Retsuko's Relatable Flaws. I actually wrote this video all the way back in February. I've been sitting on it along with a couple other scripts that I was just really afraid to edit because it's very long and very chaotic. I talk about each character one at a time in a way where I'm describing everything that character does through the whole show. And so if I talk about a show in chronological order, then that means when I go into the editing bay, I put in episode 1, I cut it to everything I'm saying, then I put in episode 2. Whereas in this case, it's like I have to put in all the episodes and then find, you know, each individual moment I mentioned about this character. So it's way harder to edit stuff like that.
Man, editing the Invincible review is also kind of like that.
Yes,
so
that was. I could tell that one was hard.
Yeah.
And the Retsuko video being 30 fucking minutes long, like, so this represents a huge change in my overall mindset over the years. That like when I started on YouTube, a 5-minute video was something I thought I could do in a day. Anything above that, I was like, that's going to be, you know, it's going to be a project. And like, I used to think a 20-minute video necessarily was going to take a week to edit. I used to think that like, you know, stuff like that. And then when I did a video every day in August of 2018, I did a 20-minute No Game, No Life video in the span of like 4 hours of editing.
Wow.
And that...
It's like 5 minutes per hour, right?
Yes.
5 minutes per minute.
5 minutes per hour is probably about what I can do on an easy edit job. Well, no more than that now. I would say I could probably do like 8 minutes per hour on something as straightforward as that video was. But it was because of the fact that most of it was non-specific. I wasn't talking about stuff that actually happens in the episodes. So almost anything I showed would be relevant most of the time. So it was just a matter of showing enough different clips to get past censorship, really. And like, you being kind of relevant. Like, okay, if I'm talking about this character, I need clips of them, but this character's in every episode, so it could be any clip of them. Whereas, again, if the more specific the thing you're talking about, the harder it is to find the footage of it. So, like Retsuko having a lot of specific moments in it was an especially hard edit, and I was really afraid to do it because I still was kind of convinced it would take a few days. I don't think it did. And I also cut it down. It was originally going to be like 8 minutes longer. I cut out a bunch of extra fluff.
I think it took you like a night, because I feel like I went to bed and then the next morning when I got home from work, you had it done.
I think I had started working on it earlier than that and like done a little bit of it, but I have a tendency when I start writing my scripts to assume that I don't have as much to say as I do, and so I start off trying to pad it out and really say everything, and then once I cross a threshold where I realize, oh god, I've already typed 12 minutes worth of words, that's when I start getting short with myself, and then I go back through the early part and go, okay, not all of this was necessary. And Agretzko suffered that massively. There was a lot of me just kind of like talking about other shows that weren't really relevant. It was like I was trying to do more of a review when most of the show is most of the video is an analysis. So I cut out more of the review elements.
You trying to steal my bit, Trixie?
Never.
My very original bit of reviewing movies.
Reviewing movies, the most original bit of the internet. Yeah.
Which, by the way, if you want me to review a specific movie, on our Patreon, there's a $20 tier where you can request me to watch a movie and I'll review it on our patreon.com/ASCpresents.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, back to the show.
Yeah, so as I was on that website, I saw some 70s anime called Rascal the Raccoon show up, and it was just like episode 7 just got subtitled. Okay, what's this? And I look it up, and it's like Wikipedia article. It's like one paragraph, but it's like, this show caused Japan's raccoon infestation in the 70s, where 2,000 2,000 people a year from the time that the show started airing were importing raccoons as pets and then setting them free. And it became like it damaged 80% of all Japanese temples and stuff. And like this story is only really seemingly known in the West because of an offhand 3-minute segment in a PBS documentary about raccoons, where like they just kind of go, oh, and in Japan, like here's
just casually mention it. It's like the raccoon invasion. And it's just 3 minutes worthy of content.
So it's something that to me should be like a whole film, and I have to think that the movie Pompoko, even though it's about Tanuki, probably was somewhat referential of the whole raccoon extermination experiment or whatever that they were trying to run. But this was a fascinating discovery, and there were a couple other videos that made most of the same points, but none of them had a lot of views, and none of them were that well made, so I was like, I might as well have the Rascal the Raccoon video. Right. I was surprised even by some of the people who didn't know the story, like people who I thought knew more than I did, so I didn't feel too bad about not having known it. And after that, I did what has been my most successful video so far, which out of this batch, which is the Mushoku Tensei Giving It Another Shot video. And this is a huge case of me going even farther back than just last season, although I think season 2 was very recent. But just knowing this was the biggest show of last year and that I didn't like it at all. Like, I had dropped it, I shit on it on Cantent, and it just seemed like I was wrong. Like, you ever just be wrong and like
yes, always.
Like,
always.
I don't think you can necessarily be like wrong to dislike something. I don't think I was wrong to dislike Mushoku Tensei, and it's not that I like love the show now, but like I couldn't see what was good about it. And like I knew going like at this point in my life, I know if a show is this popular, something's good about it. So like that was the ultimate, like, I just have to watch this show until I understand it. And I actually got there quicker than I expected to. So it wasn't too painful of a watch. And I wrote way more words than I expected to about it. This video was at 30,000 views when it got blocked.
Oh.
It was blocked for 2 days. It's back now. It's still not fully back. They can still take it down anytime the next like 20 days and I'll have to re-upload it. But It's up to 32,590 now. So, like, it's picking up again, but the momentum was fucking shot. And this video should be at 50,000 views now. Like, this was my one. This was the guy. This is the one that was going the distance. It had the legs to go the fucking distance, goddammit. And I was watching it run, cheering for it with my whole wad of fucking bets in hand, at the horse race. See, biscuit! Like, you better fucking go. Yeah, tripped up at the last second.
The legs are like the guy in Quap. Do you guys remember Quap?
Yes.
So
very familiar with Quap.
I'm extremely annoyed that video got blocked, and that was probably the most depressing thing that's happened recently. The biggest, like, ooh, this really hurts. Like, this really makes me not want to do another one. And, like, you'll see, it's that was April 15th that video came out. The next one's April 17th. Anytime there was like a 1 day gap, it was almost always because one of my videos got blocked and I had to go back and re-edit and re-upload and figure out what was wrong. And God, it just sucked. That was the worst thing about this whole experiment has been all the setbacks. I did a Berserk video, which was inspired by Super Eye Patch Wolf having done a Berserk video, and I just got the idea while I was watching it. I have is Mushoku Tensei the most influential isekai, and this was inspired by the comments on the previous one. So something I always try to do is if a video strikes gold, follow it up as soon as fucking possible with something that's relevant to the same people. Keep them coming back, keep them invested. If the first one didn't knock them out, the second one might, And so, like, if there's something that, like, because on that video, there was so many people bringing up the Mushoku Tensei is influential. It's super important. It's this important anime. I was like, okay, this has to be a video. So I made that a whole video. And then that even dovetailed into another one that my most recent being interesting in isekai info I learned from my comment section. So yeah, it really has just been kind of a way to milk this current thing that, like, has sparked some interest in my channel as much as I can to see, like, how far people want to carry that conversation. So that's been really cool.
Subs?
I am still losing subs. I've lost, let me tell you my analytics for this month, aside from revenue. Views are at 300. This is for the last 28 days. 357,000.3 357.3 thousand views in the last 28 days, which is 126.3 thousand more than usual. So that's like a 1/3 increase. Watch time has been 48.4K hours, which is 13.4K more than usual. Subscribers minus 543, which is 174% less than previous 28 days. So
people are unsubbing even though you're giving the
it's because
analysis content.
It's all the dead subs. Just I really do think every time I upload, someone sees it and goes, "What the fuck is this channel? I don't remember subscribing to this," and unsubscribes. Whereas another person goes, "What the hell is this channel? I don't remember subscribing to this," and clicks on it and goes, "Oh fuck, this is who? Oh, I remember who this is."
She who shall not be named.
So, I think it's been a really interesting renaissance. Every time I upload a video, there's at least some comments from people who are just rediscovering that I am making this type of content again. So. Yeah, it's been hugely healthy, and again, I'm making way more money on ad revenue because I actually use ad breaks now because I'm not a fucking moron, and nobody complains about that anymore.
Bringing that dough.
So I also had a video about Senpai ga Uzai, which was a popular show from not too long ago. That was just a very quick, like, pump and dump, watch the show, do the thing.
Trixie, you have a new video out called Words I Won't Use Anymore.
That is
true. We'll talk about the comments later, but first, let's hear from Bird and I about our weeks. Bird, how's your week?
My week has been incredible. I've gotten a promotion in the mountain. I know how to put together a machine that at similar locations is known to break a lot. I have authority, air quotes, and it's
authority over the mountain.
Yeah, a certain section of the mountain, whatever part of the mountain I'm at for the day,
I'm just trying to imagine like a similar location, like Everest.
Yeah, just like a different mountain.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's just a different mountain. Different mountains use similar machines. Anyway, so that's a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying that. We've done a lot of fun cooking lately. Bee has really stepped up, and I've been making her cook with me, so she knows how to do it lately.
I'm worried.
Good.
I'm like, he must be planning to break up with me soon, 'cause he's teaching me all of the techniques to live on my own.
No, it's mostly more of I come home from work sometimes just exhausted, and I need help. It's hard to cook alone sometimes. There's a lot of stuff to do, especially at the very mid-level that I like to cook. I mean, it's still effort.
You don't want to have to be doing literally everything, because it is it's like cooking well. You should be at like 100, the whole way through, because it's like...
And if, I'm at 50 and you're at 60, 75, then hey, that's 125.
Yeah, it's all about filling in all those intermediary... or intermissionary steps, I should say, between all the shit, like cleaning everything right after, like particularly like knife or
immediately after it's used.
Yeah, like the knives and
yes, I'm
cutting
glad
boards.
you've learned this lesson.
Yeah, you gotta wash the knives right away. You gotta just cleaning up after yourself as you go through each stage. And then there's also, of course, like you said, prep work at different parts. And it's very easy to get ahead of yourself if you're trying to cook 2 or 3 different things at once, to forget which step you're on and which different thing. Everything comes out at different times. It ends up being just like way more hectic and of a hassle than if you have someone else to just say, hey, go chop this while I...
All right, so let's run through some of the things I've cooked in the last week or 2 weeks. What are your favorites that I've done? I know there was that carrots and beef thing.
Dude, it was carrots and beef cooked in what?
It wasn't actually taco seasoning. It was like ginger, cardamom, cinnamon, nutmeg, salt, chipotle, probably brown sugar.
Mm-hmm. It was so fucking... It was very candied tasting. The carrots were like... it tasted like a candy carrot.
Oh, butter, yeah.
And the steak was just so good.
Yeah,
and
so what I did was I seared the steak in the pan. I took the steak out of the pan to let it rest. I cooked the carrots in the pan and covered them so they would cook faster. And then I cut the steak after it had rested for about, 5-10 minutes. And then I put the slices of the steak back into the pan with the carrots and the glaze and everything and stirred it all around. And then served it over rice, I think, right?
Yeah, it came out like the most Chinese food tasting without tasting like any specific Chinese food dish.
Yeah, and I didn't even use 5-spice, which I do have.
It was so good. It just gave me the feeling of like the same feeling when if you're somebody who ever craves Chinese food and you get like beef and broccoli, which is often okay, but usually the beef is shitty if you're getting it from a takeout place. And the sauce is not that robust. This stuff there was so much in it that it felt complete, and yet it was very like you could eat a lot of it. It was something that you just like if you want to shovel a lot of beef and carrots into your mouth. And I'm not a huge carrot eater.
I love carrots.
Holy balls,
improve your
eyesight.
eyesight.
So fucking good.
Would you say this dish comes?
Oh yeah, it came hard.
The dish was very sludge.
It literally made me say, like, hey, if I ever am, like, bothering you about how I want Chinese takeout, just make me this. And, like, this is all the emotions I'm trying to experience from that, but better. So, yeah, that was really cool. That was probably my favorite new discovery. And you just made steak kind of similarly tonight, right?
What temperature do you like your steak cooked at?
To be completely honest, I don't actually care. Steak is fine at pretty much any temperature. I've accidentally overcooked plenty of steaks. I've cooked steaks to 160 to 180
0
on
degrees
accident.
Celsius.
Well,
180
raw steak. Well, yeah, and that's well overdone, but it was an accident. I was smoking them and I just forgot. They got too hot. But it was fine.
The steak was also smoking, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I was probably a flank steak, so that was helpful. But it was fine. I usually aim to, if I'm smoking a steak, get it to about 100 or 110, and then
that's like under mid-rare.
Hang on. After that, I will sear it in a pan to get up to about 120 to 130. And I just
That's
got
about mid-rev range.
Yeah, I just got a big vat of beef tallow, and so I've been using that to cook things in.
Wagyu
awesome.
beef tallow at that.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm...
You got the Wagyu?
Yeah.
Wow.
When I come down there, we're definitely going to do a little Costco run, just because I want to cook when I'm down there. I don't really want to go out to eat all that much. Unless you guys want to, and I'm not against it, but I would really like to cook for you guys now that I've been working in the mountain for a while.
We haven't been eating out that much. It's just fun to cook a lot more. I'm very good at cooking burgers and steaks now.
Cool.
Like, I can get that shit down to a T.
What steaks do you go for usually?
I prefer medium.
No, sorry,
Also, with my
not cooking
burger.
range. Like, what cut of steak, I mean.
Oh, I don't know what it's called. Like, just a normal steak.
Normal steak. That's...
Normal steak. You know, just like, okay, think of a steak
I buy
in your
the
brain.
one that's labeled
Okay.
steak. at the
Ribeye steak,
store.
New York
Yeah.
steak, flank steak, Denver steak.
New York steak.
Okay.
It's a New York steak.
New York steak is good. I like it.
Yeah, it is.
Growing up, it was actually my favorite cut of steak, but my problem with it that I've found now in having more of them being an adult is that very often between the fat and the meat, there's like a tendon. Like,
yeah.
Or I don't even know if it's a tendon necessarily, but it's just some weird gristly bit that's pretty inedible, and I would rather not have that. And so I will usually spring for boneless short ribs, flank steaks, very thick ribeyes for special occasions, pork chops, chicken breasts, salmon is a really good one.
Salmon. Have you ever had a salmon brined? You
Bri-
can put that shit with bourbon, some brown sugar,
Brined
and just
for how long?
like a day.
Okay.
And then you smoke it, and it tastes good.
That sounds good, yeah.
Yeah.
I have never had that, but that sounds interesting. I would definitely try that. We have 2 pieces of salmon left. I do a lot of dry brining for my steaks, which is just where you take a steak and put a baking sheet under it and put it on a rack and salt it for up to 3 days. And that really helps it penetrate the meat, especially with the thicker cuts of meat, like the ribeyes that I get.
Okay.
And then we have found that in smoking meats, pecan wood for beef is really, really good. I didn't find that any others really stood out, but if anyone has recommendations for other woods to try, I would be interested. Wood. But yeah.
Wood.
We got a bunch of pork chops from Costco yesterday, and we are going to try the...
Man, that pork chop really knows how to do some karate.
Fuck you
Because he's chopping it up.
Okay. Leave that in.
Okay, real quick, let's just try a similar joke, but better, that I just came up with. What is the cut of pork's favorite martial art, or favorite karate move?
The chop?
Yeah, fucking...
You can. I needed you to go back through that one, actually.
Okay.
What is the pork's favorite karate move?
Yeah.
The chop.
Yeah.
All right. We've collectively written a joke book here on the new Voidgazers podcast.
All right, anyway, back to what I was talking about. We got a bunch of pork chops, and more pork and chicken than we usually get instead of just beef. Not for any other reason than you can't always
Having
eat
a
beef.
lot of beef is too much.
Yeah, it can feel a little heavy.
You start to
Yeah.
get heartburn and die.
I haven't suffered from heartburn from it, but that I'm also really kind of skinny, and so it helps me.
I try to swerve us if we go 3 days of steak in a row. I think
we're going on 6 right now, 6 or 7.
It's been a little
You
bit
can
of
never have enough steak, Trixie.
little bit of a steak renaissance.
All right?
It does become increasingly difficult to convince yourself to eat other food.
Yeah.
The more steak you eat, because it's just got so fucking much flavor that everything else kind of feels light by comparison unless you really do a lot to it. Although I'm a big noodle fan, so I like
Noodles are
good.
good.
Noodly dishes.
We did a steak with noodles pretty recently. I don't even remember what was in it, but it was pretty good.
If I remember correctly.
It was probably steak, garlic, parsley, red pepper flakes, butter, Parmesan cheese, maybe tomato paste, but probably not.
Tomato.
I started taking collagen this week. It's a 6-pill thing.
God, 6 huge pills every day.
What is that for?
Collagen helps with your, hair, skin, nails, joints, and what was the other one? Heart, maybe? I don't know. It just, it's the stuff that your joints are made up of, and so taking it
It's the stuff that your joints crave.
Yeah, exactly. It's what joints crave. But it's basically made of amino acids, and so taking them will help your joints, and also a benefit that I've found.
It'll also help you to make a lot of friends on Anime Amino. Just ignore me.
Okay. Also, I found that it really helps me digest things a lot better. Also, we got those little probiotic things, the Yakult.
I love those fucking probiotic drinks. I literally think that like we got sick for exactly the length of time that we didn't have probiotic drinks. Yeah. So I'm not saying that necessarily means that you should drink them. I am saying it means that your body might become dependent on maintaining.
Have I talked about that I had COVID?
I don't think.
Oh no!
You did.
Yeah, it was like
you kind of did on our live stream a little bit.
Yeah, it was like a week ago.
You should say I had the popular sickness.
It's a podcast. We can say COVID.
It's on YouTube.
Oh, well, the popular sickness.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it was fine. I don't know. The first night, I woke up at midnight after having gone to bed at around 8. I wanted to throw up, and I had a massive headache and back pain. I tried to throw up for about 3 hours and couldn't, and then laid on the floor of our bedroom until I had to go to work at the mountain. I called in and said, "No, I am not coming in. I feel bad." And they said, "Yeah, okay." And so I took a bunch of melatonin, drank a vitamin C or an emergency.
You took a bunch of melatonin?
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, the sleeping thing.
I thought you said melanin for a second.
What's Oh, yeah. I took a bunch of melanin. I took a bunch of multivitamins. I drank an emergency. I drank a Theraflu. And then I went to sleep because that calmed it for a while. And then it was just kind of back pain, stomach pain, headache, and stuffed sinuses for half a week to a week.
It didn't last very long that you were that bad.
Yeah, it was fine. It wasn't that bad. I
keep testing negative, but I had diarrhea every night at 9 o'clock for like an hour. It was just like I would suddenly be in unimaginable pain, spend a while throwing up in the bathroom, and then be fine. And it just kept happening every night. But it stopped, so thank God.
That's called Montezuma's Revenge.
Mint, what did you cook this week?
Oh man, I've been cooking a lot of pizza, specifically this pizza dough you can buy at Walmart, a bunch with like pizza sauce and matzo cheese.
Yeah, like the kits.
And it makes some pretty bomb-ass pizza, especially if you put some garlic powder and basil on it.
Ooh!
That shit's yum. It's delicious. It's honestly one of the better pizzas that I've had. The crust is great. And it's also remarkably cheap. That pizza dough for one of those rolls is like $1.33.
Is it like neat. Is it a dough or is it like a pizza, like you just put the sauce on it? A pre-made dough
or that you have to
like, do you have to mold it? Is the question I'm asking.
Yeah. Yes, you do have to mold it. It comes in the same containers as those cinnamon rolls from the Pillsbury dough.
That's cool. How many does it come with?
It's just one pizza, but that pizza can be spread in a 19 by 13 inch pan.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty cool. Do you guys have a pizza stone or a pizza steel?
We do have a pizza stone.
That's cool.
However, I don't use it.
Oh, I see.
Mint, you gotta use the pizza stone.
When we're there,
I won't have as much pizza. Well, I can have spread it across.
I can make
okay, I see what you're saying.
dough recipe that has like 4 pizzas and then just make it twice, and then we can have 8 pizzas.
Yes.
It's true.
That would be good.
Yeah.
I have been experimenting, not this week, but in the past, with making pizza dough. And the pizza dough has been good. It just takes forever if I'm just doing pizza dough one by one, just doing it.
What temperature are you cooking at?
425.
Is that as high as your oven goes?
No.
Cook it hotter.
Yeah, always cook pizza at the highest temperature you possibly can.
Okay.
And that's
Good
so the reason for the pizza stone is that what you're supposed to do is put it in like an hour before the pizza itself and just let it get super fucking hot in the oven.
Super.
And then when you
hot.
put the pizza on top of the stone, it'll make it so the bottom
hot.
cooks faster than the top cooks because it's so hot. And therefore, you know, the
super hot.
Yeah, you just get a more even cook because you're not worried about the top burning before the bottom if the bottom's already really hot.
Yeah, it's because like regular pizza ovens go up to 900 degrees or more. So they're just way hotter.
It's over 900.
Yeah, over 900. And so you want to replicate the highest temperature you can, and maybe the stone gets to 600 or 700 ideally. Steels, I've heard, are a lot better, and they get better results. But we have a lot of good results with the pizza stone we have. And it's pretty easy.
I usually would only do 425 because that's what Domino's has, and the pizzas are like on a 6-minute timer. I don't know how the fuck the pizzas at Domino can cook so fast. Even
I don't
if
know.
They're only there for 6 minutes. Like,
maybe it's a really
it's magic.
efficient oven.
Maybe.
Is it like a conveyor belt?
Yes.
Okay. That's interesting. Like Costco then. Costco does that too. 425 is probably just the safe temperature they can keep it at to be around 500 safely.
Probably. I was also making a bunch of burgers. Just, like I already mentioned, the burgers. I like to make a lot of burgers. Just practice, see what temperature I can cook them at and how consistent. And I've been doing pretty consistent on my temperature.
That's very cool.
And yeah, it's when I first started cooking burgers, like just for the first time, it's always very sad because it always turns out bad. It's like, how do I cook the meat?
If it makes you
cooked enough?
If it makes you feel any better, Bird, not through fault of his own, well, not on the cooking end, made the most disappointing burger he's ever made for me the other day, which is because we went and got on accident these like 1 ounce patties.
They were 2 ounce patties.
2 ounce patties that and there was only like 6 of them or something. So it was like these incredibly tiny burgers.
It was 8 of them. So it was a pound.
We got it was a pound of burger, but in these tiny slices, and we got like full size everything bagel like topping buns.
Those were terrible.
Didn't match
really
at all. And then
it.
like we didn't have American cheese, I didn't realize. And so I tried using Gouda. No, don't do that. Gouda is not on a burger. So
it's good for other things, but not on the burger. I agree.
No, not at all. So it was like I had like the 2 little tiny patties with a little bit of Gouda, and so like I threw a bunch of sriracha on it and peppered it. Like it was to make it edible. I was able to eat the thing, so it wasn't like it was still cooked perfectly. Just
the problem I had,
just a total fucking mess.
Yeah,
of a
the
burger.
biggest problem I had was that they were so thin and small that they wouldn't have any adherence to the pan, so I couldn't just like press them down with a spatula and then they'd stick and start searing like I could with maybe like a 3 or 4 ounce burger that I made. But that's also, with regular ground beef, and it reacts differently. I put a bunch of sriracha on it. It was fine.
It was honestly like I'm thankful that it was actually like it was so bad like in terms of construction that it was instantly like it was like funny, where like it wasn't as depressing as it could have been. Where like, because every burger you've made me has been like the greatest thing I've ever eaten.
Yes.
So when I'm like, when I'm anticipating burgers tonight, I'm like, this is gonna be the best night of my life. Like I'm gonna have about 5 minutes of total orgasmic bliss today.
It was Easter too.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
man,
it took a while to get it all made, like, as well. Like, we went out shopping, like, relatively late, so it was late, we were hungry, it gets made, and I'm just kind of, like, eating it, and I'm just like, oh. Like, every bite I take, I kind of have to, like, sit for a second and be like, I made a lot of bad decisions leading up to this, like, not realizing that they were mini burgers, getting the everything bagel burger, which didn't necessarily have to be bad, but it was not good for this. And I had even suggested we get onion buns instead, and I don't know.
I think those
saved the day, but
too.
it was not a great experience. So,
Bird.
Every once in a while.
What's up, salad?
Real quick, I want to ask you, how do you cook your burgers? Do you flip your burgers at all during your cooking process?
Yeah, at least once. Why? Do you not?
I only do it once, but I've seen other people flip their burgers multiple times, and every time I see it, it makes me sad.
It is
You're not
a mistake.
supposed to flip your burgers repeatedly throughout the process.
I've made that mistake.
Well, so
Yes.
I will flip them more than once if the temperature is not correct. That's pretty much my rule. I guess I could steam them alternatively. But
Yeah.
sometimes, like at that point, if I'm steaming them, I've already put cheese on them.
Right.
Okay.
And I don't want the cheese to melt too much before the burger is actually cooked. And I'd also just rather sear it than steam it.
Yeah. My rule of thumb for flipping burgers, I only flip a mid-rare once, medium once, a well-done once, but I usually flip it on the turn. Mid-well
Flip it turn
once.
ways.
Mid-well once, but when I flip it, I push it down, and then a well-done, I push it down, flip, push it down, and that makes it so if I'm cooking 4 burgers at once, and they're different temperatures, they'll all come out around the same time.
Sure,
That's how you make
that
it
makes
fast.
sense. Do you ever make
Yeah.
smash burgers?
I've personally have not, but I know how to make a smash burger. I personally don't like smash burgers because I feel like the meat gets too dry
Okay,
if you let it cook for too long.
Yeah, that's totally fair criticism of smash burgers. I really like the taste of meat
Also
crust.
known as ground rounds, when you cook them to the point of almost black and flatten them, which is all the way that they do it in Rochester.
Oh, that's disgusting. I
All
would never
burgers
eat that.
there are on Kaiser rolls. They're flattened, almost blackened, and covered in white cheese.
Ew,
No!
gross. No.
That's so bad.
No.
I honestly don't even usually eat cheese on my burgers. I'll usually just eat it with meat and some sauce. I'm getting
American all the way.
yeah.
I usually like bacon and American, a little bit of Swiss.
Oh, we just got
As
4
well.
pounds of bacon too. I'm really happy that we have so much bacon. We get to start using it.
Man, all this bacon talk is making me hungry.
Is there a Costco near y'all?
No.
Damn, not
The
at
nearest
all.
one is like 70 minutes.
70 minutes?
Yes.
Do you
Okay.
have Sam's Club? Or
I don't.
BJ's?
I'm not on either of those. We'll just do it on the way back from WATP.
Oh, you were asking for your sake if you could buy stuff while you're there. I thought you
Yeah.
were just like, hey, you guys should sign up for sus.
No, I'm trying to plan
sorry,
out.
the nearest one is an hour and a half away.
Yeah,
what
that's
I'd
too
say.
far. It would make more
Yeah.
sense to do it on the way back from the long trip we're already taking.
Yeah.
We have cooler bags.
Cool.
Yeah, so that'll work out. That'll be fun. Yeah, I'm really excited for the trip coming up. I want to film a lot of cooking stuff with you, Mint.
Yes.
Is there anything you are specifically excited to cook or want to cook while we're down there? Or any cooking things I need to bring with me for you? I have a Dutch oven.
I don't know what that is, but bring
It's a
it.
really big pot. You can make pot roast in it.
Huge ceramic pot, yeah.
Is it like a slow cooker?
It's like that, but you use it on the stove or in the oven. It's just a big metal thing. It's like a big.
functions as a slow cooker.
Yeah, it
if you
functions
so
as a
desire.
slow
Okay.
cooker. It's a big metal pot that's coated in ceramic.
Man, I just want burgers.
Burgers? Mint just wants to eat burgers all the time.
Burgers.
The
are delicious.
burgers are the best thing ever. I mean,
I agree. I'm in the same
I-
boat. as much as I
cannot
love
say
all the
how-
steak we eat, if we ate burgers just as often, I'd probably be even happier.
All right.
I cannot
Burger
give,
week.
I
Now that could be
give
fun. We
more
could.
praise
We will have
to your
to.
burgers.
You and I will have to plan out a week-long stint
Burger
of burgers.
extravaganza.
At least, yeah, because I mean, we're gonna eat at least twice a day. So
Let's look into all
Oh.
of the different ways that we can make a burger that we will like. 'Cause
Yeah.
There's, I used to go to this restaurant called Kelly's that had like 18 different specialty burgers, and each one is more ridiculous than the last. Of like, you know, here's your firehouse burger where it's like sriracha and jalapenos and spicy fried fucking onions.
I'd like to set some limits right off at the start, and that is the buns have to be the same, just for efficiency's sake. I don't think there's a whole lot of point in switching the buns, especially if we pick a good bun like brioche or something like that. Past that, I don't care. Use different sauces, use different tomato, onion, different
a
preparations
contest,
of onion.
or-
It's not a contest. I just want to, you know,
Should be a contest.
Guidelines. It
Let's see who
could-
can make the best burger.
okay, we could each make our own burgers every day. I
And
think
this
that
will be for ASC Daily
Yeah, the
on
challenge-
our Patreon for $3 a month. You can check out this contest. We're
Okay.
going to definitely be cooking off each other's burgers, and it's going to
So,
be great.
here's
gonna
my
eat
idea.
burgers.
I think the challenge
Yeah.
has to be that you have to make the burger differently every time. It cannot be the
Well, yeah,
same
of course.
burger twice.
Yeah, naturally. Here's my take on it, and that is, it'll be me, Trixie, you, Riley, and Dave, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that will be what, 4 people for us? No, 3. Math hard. Sorry, 3 people for us each to cook. So we can each prepare 3 burgers every day, and we could cut them in half, or we could prepare.
Each judge has to pick which one's their favorite.
Oh no, wait, I'm
Dave's
sorry.
not
For each
biased
preparing
because-
3 burgers, I'm stupid. Math hard. But yeah, we can
Each prepare 5 burgers.
5. Why? Oh, so
So
we
there's
can
5
each try
people.
each other's.
Yes.
Okay, sure. Yeah, absolutely. That sounds fun. We have to use the same meat. I feel like that's, well, actually, I feel like that's a weird restriction, because if one of us wants to use lamb or something. So, well, what if, Mint, how would you feel about doing something like a lamb day, like, or a chicken or a turkey day or something like that, and flip it up on the meats?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Each meat is each day. Day 1, chicken. Day 2, lamb. Day 3, turkey. Day 4, steak. Day 5, burger, or something like
Wait,
that.
steak?
Steak
Steak-
burger?
Okay, sure, that
Steak,
could be
yes.
Okay. I'm interested in that idea, but I think it should just be like 2 of the days are different meats and most of them are beef,
Yeah.
because there's so much you can do with beef burgers, and that's what people are going to
Yes.
be
Yeah,
the most
I feel
excited
like
about.
the 2 that would be most true to burgers would be bison and lamb.
Yeah.
All right.
And those are easy to come by in ground beef form in grocery stores.
Yeah, I feel like that could be really fun.
Mint, I want to know about all the videos that you worked on this week. I also, independently of that, want to know what is your favorite movie that you've been recommended to review that you hadn't seen before so far?
Oh man. With the videos that I've been doing mint salad saws every Wednesday and Saturday. I've definitely watched movies that I've never seen before and also have seen before, and it was just fun to catch up on them. My favorite movie that I saw, I really enjoyed Primer. Primer
Okay.
was one of my top
I had a
picks.
feeling that might be the case, because when I saw that you reviewed it at all, I kind of felt like for Mint Salad to review this, she had to have liked it. And I haven't
it's a
seen
good
that
one.
movie yet, so like even knowing that you like it kind of gets me hyped for it, because like I heard it was good, and I feel like you and I have you don't like to be bored. I don't like to be bored. That's something we have in common. A lot of kinophiles don't mind being bored. I'm not necessarily one of them. Out of all the working on your channel and stuff lately, like I'm curious about your process, because for me, like a big part of how I've been able to get so much done is kind of realizing like I can record audio earlier in the day when everybody's at work, and then I can do like editing at night when everybody's asleep and stuff like that. So I'm curious, like, you know, about the lifestyle of like how many movies are you watching every week, and you know, maybe what's the hardest part about, like, you know, is it harder to watch the movies or talk about the movies or edit the videos? Like, what do you consider like the...
It's definitely harder to watch the movie and then at the same time keep track of everything that's going on, but also then talk about what's going on within that order. How my reviews work. In my mind, I see some visual information, like a scene that I'm thinking of in particular, and it will flash kind of in order in my mind as I cover the subject. Like, the movie starts with this guy, right? And he's doing a thing, and while I'm describing that, I have a picture in my mind, and then within those same set of words, it'll transition to a new thought, and I'm like, okay, here's that thought. But sometimes the thoughts get out of order, and I'm like, okay, I'm out of order. I'll have to do some editing to kind of clean this up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we get to the editing stage. The editing is actually pretty easy. It's just mostly comedy edits, and that takes about the most amount of time. If I'm watching a short movie, like an hour movie, it takes me about an hour to hour and a half to edit a mint salad saw. If I'm just sitting down and just doing it in one sitting, that's kind of the process. But for me, I like to watch the movies at night, then record the movie reviews during the day, just have them batch, just watch a bunch of movies, like 3 movies at once, and then I record in different places, change clothing.
Yeah.
And it's always just fun to figure out, okay, I've never filmed in this place before, or I have filmed in this place before. How do I make it look like it's a different place?
Yeah.
And that's just a fun challenge to have to go through every time.
So would you say that's your favorite part of the whole process, is just like how am I going to make this feel different from the last one?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. It's always a fun thing to just do. Filming movie reviews is actually pretty fun for me.
Yeah.
It also helps the fact that I've always felt that I've never really watched a lot of movies growing up, and a bunch of people around me would be able to talk about movies. Like, oh, I like this part in this movie, and I'd just be here like, I'm just drawing, and it was also like, it was always a social thing. If I was able to talk about a movie, then I would be able to connect with people. Yeah. And now I get to finally do that, and it's over the internet, and that's pretty cool. I really like talking about movies and watching all the movies that you should want me to watch.
I could definitely, I can see you being somebody who would be very excited to, like, you know, like you watch, and I can relate to this too, like you watch a movie like Shrek for the first time in 20 years or whatever, and then like get your thoughts together and you make a video, and like it all feels very like by yourself, like very alone, until the video comes out, and then you start reading other people's responses, and then suddenly it feels like you watched it with all these people, like oh, you all know Shrek too, and like some people might even watch the movie just for the sake of talking about it with you, or you know, they've seen it a bunch of times, they're familiar with it, and so you get that really interesting moment where suddenly, like something that you were doing totally by yourself all of a sudden is a social activity just because you released it out onto the internet, you know, and it didn't even require you to actually like walk up to a person and it's like strike up a random conversation about a movie, you know, like, but you got to have that experience basically of just practically screaming into the void, hey, who watched Shrek? And then, you know, like, I saw Shrek, and they walk over and they leave a comment, you know?
Man, just making the mint salad saws just up to now, even before Mint Madness, it was always kind of a struggle just for me mentally to get into the mindset of, okay, I'm just going to review this movie that I saw, and I'm going to say all the things, and hopefully it works. And my first video, I remember I was very nervous because it was like, oh, is this just going to be a good video? This is a movie review. There's many movie reviewers out there. I'm just going to say some words about the movie, give my opinion. and it's worked out. And I'm actually really surprised about how many people are watching my reviews. It's more than I could ever imagine. I'm
impressed with the consistency of it, that like all of them have hundreds of views, and I've been very impressed with that, because that means that people are coming back. You know, like it's not just like they saw a movie title that they like or whatever. You know, like there's people who are watching every review you do, and I think that's because you have a very unique voice, not just like literally, but you know, you come at things from a unique angle, and so I think the more concrete you become, where like it sounds like right now you're basically discovering what you like and don't like about movies, and at some point it's going to come to where you have such a strong sense of that you can very confidently be like, yeah, no, this is a movie that's for me, or this is a movie that's not for me. And then that's when your audience is really going to click with you, where like whoever shares your taste in movies is going to be like, oh yeah, mint salad is my go-to. Like she knows what movies I'm going to like, you know, or not going to like. So I do think
I'm excited for the audience potential, just the more people watching the movie reviews, and I just want to see what all of them have to say about it, you know? Give me all your opinions.
I also like that you've seen lots of like analysis videos and stuff, but you're not trying to copy any specific person. Where like most analysis videos, you can kind of feel like, okay, I know that your favorite's, you know, YMS, or your favorite's Nerd Writer or whatever. But like your videos are just like, this is just a mint salad video. Like I mean,
that's just me, because that's also how my art style developed. Growing up, I would just scroll Tumblr and look at all these different art styles. I'd pick and choose from different art styles what I liked about them, and then transforming it into my own. So that's kind of the process that I'm going here. That's
what good art
being
is.
Me. Yeah, let's just be me. It's just me being me, you know? That's what these reviews are about.
I like it. I'm excited to see the mint salad empire grow. Every time I see a video that gets like a little more views than usual, I'm like, yes. I'm just waiting for that one that's going to have like 50K and just like knock all the other ones up a peg, you know?
A couple of the videos already have like 2 grand views. Ooh. And it's like, oh wow, some of these videos are popping off. Some of these are going very fast, especially the Sonic 2 review has 2.3K views as of this recording.
Also, you guys have done a really good job of the SEO management, like talking about relevant movies, you know. Talking about fucking, what was it, Shark Tale right after the slap. That was particularly hilarious.
Surf's Up?
Yeah, Surf's Up. That's the one, not Shark Tale. God damn it. Wait, that's not even relevant, is it? Surf's Up, not the one with... I thought you had done a Shark Tale review as a reference to Will Smith being slapped, or doing the slap. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people clicked on that Surf's Up video, like literally forgetting that that's not the one that has Will Smith in it, because my brain did that to me when that video went up. That's so funny.
Oh man, that Surf's Up review, I don't know how it has so many views. It's
an underrated movie, that's why, I think. It's a movie that hasn't really gotten its dues for being pretty good.
Yeah, it's a pretty good movie.
YMS just talked about Surf's Up also in his new video, where he was fucking talking about how in the stupid Lion King movie they're trying to act like they revolutionized technology by like filming inside of a virtual world, and then YMS showed a bunch of clips from Surf's Up where they talked about doing the same thing specifically to achieve the documentary style effect that Favreau claimed to be trying to. And well, they do it in like that technique is how all animated films are made practically.
So here's a fun little aside. I've been to DreamWorks Studios before. I got a tour of it when I was about 15 to 16. We walked around it. It was, I don't even know if that's the correct year, but it was at the time that the Rise of the Guardians film was being created. I met a guy who worked on Kung Fu Panda 2, and then he took our group into the Rise of the Guardians VR area, where there was a guy who was dressed up in a silly VR suit with bubbles all over himself, and he could give us the controls, and we could be, you know, the Easter Bunny.
Nice.
In the Easter Bunny's realm, and that was really neat. So yeah, I've seen these universes. It's cool. The Lion King is a bad one.
It's so goofy for them to act like they invented something. It's just like common fucking animation techniques. But yeah, I hope that leads to even more people searching Surf's Up and coming upon your review.
Yes.
Which I only saw that movie for the first time recently as well. So, yeah, I will go check out that review myself.
Yes. You should also, especially like the dancing club penguin in my green screen cape in that video.
Yeah, yes, that sounds amazing.
And that obviously fake snow, because I'm a penguin. That's the joke.
Not the Penguin, though, who you were in your review of The Batman, except you weren't. You were Batman, but it's a funny sentence to have said.
Speaking of videos, hey, Trixie.
Yes.
You got that new video. Let's talk about it. The video, words I won't use anymore.
It's a doozy.
We got a couple of comments from that video.
Oh, yeah.
And I definitely want to read as well.
Well, before you get to the comments, I'll just say this video, it's been a long time coming. If anything, this video is probably I try to make each of my videos with somebody in mind as like the intended audience. This one was Riley, because Riley really wanted this video. He was really curious to hear what I was going to have to say about it. So I sat on it for a long time trying to figure out exactly the approach I wanted to take. And really, like, at least once a week, I get some kind of comment from somebody talking about how they have either unsubbed to me in the past because of my use of specifically one or more of the words that I talk about in this video, or just literally expressed interest in, like, I want to know if Trixie would still say these words. Like, there's lots of comments like that. And so it finally got to a point where I felt like I had to do it. And initially it was mostly going to be focused on the N word, and I wasn't really even going to bring up the R word as a word that I still have a hard time convincing myself not to say in most contexts. But someone complained about it on one of my live streams recently, and in sort of, discussing it on that live stream, it helped me to basically just like having to talk about why I would or wouldn't use the word made me kind of, I guess, put together some of what I was going to say about it in the video. So, yeah, that helped me along. And it's probably longer than it needs to be necessarily, but it's one of those subjects where it's really hard to talk about without, like, summarizing my entire life in as much perspective as I can to really make it clear where I'm coming from. But the response has been really good. I mean, I guess we'll be reading some comments and seeing how good the response is.
Yeah. Let's read some of these comments. All right, we got a first comment. He says, very interesting. I'm not native English speaker and not from English country and culture. So basically, this is all news to me. However, very relatable. Maybe this self-sensing experience is universal, just human process.
It does, in fact, say self-sensing, but yeah, he was trying to say self-censoring, I think. And there was a lot of comments from people from outside the country that were really interesting, because some of them were like, I don't get it at all, because we don't have offensive words in our culture. However, there were other comments that were to the effect of like, no, we have words, we're just not offended by them. But the words have all the same intent and meaning. It's just not a culture of being worried about language in those countries. And like, I'll be frank, I think the ability to have this conversation is privileged beyond the extent of fucking the universe. Like, There are certain people who responded to this with comments that were like, well, you're basically just justifying why you're trying to fit into normie society. Like, you're not saying none of my video is to say like this is correct. Like, none of it's saying no one should ever say the N-word because it's actually bad. It's like, I'm not saying it because I will get killed if I say it. You're like, this is like the point of it is to be like, no, we live in a society, guys. We do live in a society. We have to participate in it. I'm sorry, like, it sucks. I hate it, but we have to do it. And like, this is the rules right now. These are the words you can't say right now, And so like a lot of the foreigners were very particularly like kind of derisive or confused or just like, yeah, I don't get it. Like I just don't get how words can mean this much, but I understand that like racial tensions in America are what they are and all that. And to me, it comes down to like, yeah, we have too much time to fucking think here in this country. We got too much access to social media. We got too much time on our hands to be worried about.
Definitely does not help.
Yeah. But, it is what it is. And if, in this country, there are words you can't say in a public forum and not be judged about it, and like foreigners, whether they understand it or not, usually know they can't say the N-word in a video if they don't want to get a bunch of comments about it from their American audience, so at the very least, everybody gets it as well as they need to, which is, there's just some words you can't say because it is what it is. It's the way culture is right now.
All right, I got another comment. He says, "Oh yeah, I also do this slipping into accents I hear thing. I think it's an autism thing. I do that too sometimes. Sometimes I'll just be saying a normal thing and then I'll just break into a country accent."
I do think there were a lot of comments about this too. A lot of people who brought it up as an autism thing and then other people who brought it up as like a actually everyone does it thing. And yeah, to some degree, we all learned a language from hearing other people do it. So we all have some kind of cobbled together way of things. And like usually people make very specific references to things that, they've only ever heard in that one way. So like if you've heard, did I do that? Like you're going to say it like that because that's the meme. That's the way everyone heard it at once. But like, whereas there's other people like me who I will hear someone talking in an accent and then I just start talking in that accent. And I think that's a little bit more autistic. Like the more it has an effect on you to listen to others people speak and the less you can kind of control it. Like there's a difference between deliberately making a reference and then like I listened to Gordon Ramsay for 2 hours and now all of my thoughts are in British, like.
Yes.
So
it's very relatable.
Yeah, so that it happens to me. It happens to a lot of commenters. It definitely is more pronounced with autistic people. I've had for a long time an idea for an album kind of commenting on this called A Crow and a Parrot about, how the crow has the intelligence to like pick up on words and then be able to formulate words based on understanding, whereas the parrot just hears a thing and says it back. Doesn't understand what it's saying. It's just hearing it and saying it back, And so there's a little bit of a crow and a parrot inside of me in that way.
Yeah. Same here. Got another comment. They say, another interesting swear word, which I don't personally think is problematic, but some others do, is cancer. I don't personally use it myself, but I think that since it doesn't refer to something inseparable from the person, it shouldn't offend. When calling something that, it doesn't refer to a person who has it, but instead the actual tumor. Contrasted with something like autistic or the R slur, which you can't really separate from people who actually are those things.
It's an interesting that he says, like that, it doesn't refer to a person who has it, but instead the actual tumor, contrasted with something like autistic or the R slur, which you can't separate from the people who are those things. I don't know if I agree with that part of what he's saying. And like, cause you can't help having cancer also, like, being a cancer patient or being an autism patient, are those necessarily like, both of them are like an affliction. And while one may be more curable than the other, they're both things you have to learn to live and deal with. I don't know. To me, there's no reason that there should be like a huge divide in the way that we regard these words. But like with cancer, that's a funny one because I never really got it. Like I never found it that funny to say, oh, this is fucking cancer, I think it's funnier to say this is AIDS, so maybe that's part of why. But like, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people who use it that way have experienced cancer. Like 1 in 5 fucking people gets cancer, right? Like
Yeah.
everyone knows someone who's had
around
cancer.
Uh-oh.
So like, what?
You, me,
Yeah, this
Mint, Riley,
there's 5 people
Dave.
on this podcast. Yeah.
Oh no.
One of us is definitely gonna get some kind of cancer, probably skin cancer.
I'm the cancer.
I'm a cancer.
I'm the cancer. That's a song by Animal Collective. Anyway, yeah, I've never really appreciated it as an insult that much. My mom's had cancer. She's beat cancer. I wouldn't be offended in any way by hearing cancer, even if she had died from it. It probably wouldn't. It's a word. It's just not the way I think that I would be like, oh my God, I heard the word cancer and now I'm thinking about my dead mom. I mean, I probably would think about my dead mom, but I wouldn't be sad about it. I'd be like, oh yeah, mom, love you. Hope you're doing all right in heaven. You know, like, so for me, like, it really always comes down to just like, does it offend people and are they going to complain? You know, like that's all you really need to be thinking about, because I can't personally be the judge of what words are actually good or bad. None of them are bad to me. You know, like I understand what makes the words offensive, but like culturally, you know, nobody is going to be mad at me if I say fuck in a video, even though lots of people would legitimately be offended to hear the word fuck. None of them are online. None of them are in my age group. None of them watch anime. But, you know, those things can be said of the word cancer. I could say that and someone could be offended in my audience. So that's why, you know, besides the fact that I already... Exactly. And besides the fact that I already don't think that word is that funny in the first place, you know, I just wouldn't be wanting to use a needlessly offensive word for no reason, you know?
I got another comment. I love when people who are not from the UX act like they don't have slurs in their country, Lamau.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all regional. It's all like language. Yeah. Language to one person is going to mean a different thing to a different person. So, yeah, that makes sense.
I think a lot of Americans would be a lot of offended if they... I think everyone in America kind of knows that, like, other countries are, like, also racist and that, like, they make less of a big deal out of it, and we kind of look at it like, oh, well, we're more sophisticated than them, which is racist in and of itself. But I really do think that's how Americans are, is like, we look at it as like, oh, well, you know, those countries can't help but be racist because they're behind and we're ahead. And it's just like, you know, but they look at us and they're like, what the fuck are you Yankees doing over there? Like, what are you fucking worried about, you know? So it is a funny dynamic.
Man, it's just always fun to see just people complain about things. It's like, well, it's a problem here, but not in other countries. They have different problems.
Or not even
countries.
Like one block over where people aren't talking about it. It's like, you know, when you happen to be in earshot of someone who cares is when it matters, you know?
Yes.
But I broadcast my videos to the whole world, so they're always in earshot of someone who will care, probably.
Exactly.
Especially because I sit next to you.
Ooh, cute.
I got another comment. This one says, this was a pretty bold and brave video. This is approximately the longest I've ever seen this topic explored online. Dope stuff. Keep it up.
Thanks, Garrett Bolig.
That's a really nice comment. My one criticism is that it's actually brave and the bold. We talked about this earlier with Batman.
Brave, bold, and stunning. You forgot stunning, okay?
Well, no, I'm talking about Batman, the Brave and the Bold.
That show had the legs to go the distance, without a doubt.
It did go quite a while.
Yeah, it did. Got another comment. They say, as a mixed person who also grew up in the DMV in a
Mint, what is the DMV?
I think they
No, stop. I know, hang on. I know what... I'm pretty sure I know what they mean.
Yeah.
I want Mint to tell me what the DMV is.
She said Department of Motor Vehicles.
Okay. The Department of Motor Vehicles. Trixie, would you like to say what the DMV...
Yeah, I think they were trying to say the DSMV, right? The book of all the mental disorders.
Maybe.
That's what they were trying to say.
The DSM.
It goes on to say... You know, I grew up in the DMV in a super diverse friend group. Otherwise, I have no idea what DMV stands for. Maybe, like, I don't know. Maybe it's a city, like a regional code or something. I don't know, but...
Yeah. I also grew up in the DMV in a super diverse friend group. My generation was so later than yours, where by high school, all white people stopped saying the N-word. The only time I experienced was online. I said the R slur and F slur a lot, but I definitely stopped when I noticed it was hurtful. The R slur was so hard to take out of my language as well. That was the only way to describe stupid people.
Moron.
One day the Zoomers are going to find out that they were the first generation that ever tried to, like, police their own language. And they're going to be so upset.
They're not the first.
Wait, none of you had to... Okay, I'm being facetious, kind of. But, like, they think about it. The average Zoomer thinks so much more about the words they say than anyone I went to high school with. And it really is the internet, the culture of, like, SJWs and stuff. And I'm not even necessarily complaining about this. I'm glad that high schoolers, of all people, are being made to, you know, feel shame and self-reflect before they reach adulthood. But, like, it really is crazy that, like, when I was in high school, I would never even have imagined someone was going to tell me about, like, you know, words you can and can't say in school, you know? Like, school was where people went to say the words they couldn't say at home if they didn't have the internet, you know?
When I was at school, the trend of censoring yourself didn't really start until I was in, like, midway through high school. And that was when people were talking about, oh, you can't say this, oh, you can't say that. But, like, during middle school...
that didn't happen when I was in high school.
People swore and, like, call each other the R slur all the time.
Yeah.
And it was a very different experience compared to later in life, you know?
You're definitely, like, you were right on that cutoff of the generation, like, right where it started to be a thing that everybody's like, hey, you're not allowed to say these words anymore. Like, oh, I didn't know this was a thing normies cared about, you know?
Yeah, it's so widespread now. So I got another comment, speaking of widespread, I got another comment. They say, one I keep internally debating is describing a character or behavior as autistic. I don't know of a good alternative that gets the same point across, but I worry sometimes that it could be unintentionally hurtful or offensive to someone. I also struggle with this, but it's not thinking, oh, is this offensive? It's more like, oh, is this accurate?
Yeah.
Am I describing somebody who has autism accurately? Because sometimes I even question if I have autism. Like, do I have autism? I seem so normal. But there are some things.
You feel very high functioning compared to people who are extremely autistic, is what you're trying to say. And I feel that too, where, like, you know, especially as I grow older, because as you grow older, you learn more coping mechanisms. You learn more of how to communicate and, like, get around all the stuff, or you know, or just figure out what you were getting wrong in the first place. So nowadays, it's hard for me to look at myself and say, like, oh, you seem autistic. But, like, when I look back at who I was in middle and high school, it almost seems unquestionable. So, you know, and granted, there's multiple different things that could lead to similar conclusions. I think I am much more of a dissociative than I am an autistic person. Like, that's more of where my personality, like, drives from, and where my hangups drive from is from being somebody who can completely zone out and just become like a blank wall for long periods of time, you know? So, like, and so I used to talk about myself as being autistic a lot. And that is actually the part I've cut the most. It's like, no, I'm not going to talk about me being a representation of autism. I'm only going to talk about it when I'm very sure that it's part of the point. But with anime and video games, it is so often obviously part of the point. And I try not to say it unless it's, like, over fucking whelming, but it's often over fucking whelming in anime that's just like, oh, this character is obviously meant to be autistic because the author is probably fucking autistic and they're writing about what they were like when they were younger, you know? Like, it just makes sense. So, I can't cut it out entirely, but I have been trying to be careful about the way I use it so that people understand where I'm coming from. I'm never trying to be insulting. I'm never insulting autistic people. Most of my, you know, viewership and friends and I would self-identify as at least somewhat autistic. So
I personally, obviously, don't get offended by being called autistic, but there was a point in time where I used to, right around the time where I actually got diagnosed. There was a question of whether I was autistic or not. Hey, are you autistic? You seem a little bit autistic, and I was in heavy denial of that, to the point where I sat down in front of the psychologist that diagnosed me, and I did my best to appear not autistic. And by that I mean I was very fluid with my emotions, describing things. But the way that I describe things, in one particular instance, she asked me to describe doing a toothbrush, like brushing my teeth.
Yeah.
And I did all the motions.
And you said, "Oh, you mean doing a toothbrush?" And she went, "Yeah, you're autistic."
Pretty much. But yes, she told me that the way that I brushed my teeth, the fact that I could just visualize all the components and put it together metacognitively in a meta plane, or whatever that plane is, was the sign that I was autistic.
Interesting.
But she said I had mild autism. And that was me trying really hard not to appear autistic.
Yeah.
So that goes to show that I don't know what the fuck is autism.
That is the main reason that autism is less detected in women, though, is that women tend to try to hide it and be better at hiding it. Yes. Is why it's much less diagnosed with them. Autistic
women, for me, I speak on my behalf, but this could also apply to other women, are very good at masking. When, like, social masking, I can talk to someone if someone talks to me like, "Hey, how was your day?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm doing good," and like kind of bant and whatnot. But like, it really takes somebody to talk to me in order to push that conversation. Like, I'm not going to push the conversation on its own, unless I'm just like saying hello. Then naturally I'm just going to be like, I don't know what else to talk about. But like in reality, there's like a million things I could talk about, but there are some things that I really want to talk about, and it's most likely nobody else wants to talk about it.
Yeah, not what this person in front of you wants to hear. Yes. So yeah, I mean that's my life still, is I can never figure out what the fuck I can tell anybody. Like, I hang out with people and I'm just like, well, everything I did this week is obscure beyond reason and you can't possibly care. So I don't know how to have this conversation.
Pretty much. All right, next comment says, "Great video, Trix. It's nice to get blog type videos from you again. One thing that had me confused though, when you said fuckboy was a perfect replacement for the F slur, AFAIK.
That's as far as I know.
As far as I know, a fuckboy is someone who is obsessed with getting laid and will spend a lot of time and energy in pursuit of it. Usually they are total douche bros, lacking emotional depth in favor of superficial attractiveness. The term has become so widespread and popular that it apparently is even used to describe women who display the same traits, so I hear. Either we have different definitions of fuckboy, or you're not talking about the same F-slur I assumed."
Yeah, so this is an interesting one, because I think that this guy he's coming at it from the perspective of what does fuckboy mean now, and then looking back. I'm coming at it from the perspective of, I saw this word suddenly emerge into the world and then get a definition. So it was very, like, not to say that fuckboy wasn't a phrase anyone had ever used before. I'd heard it here and there, but like when Run the Jewels came out, it fucking exploded. It went from,
I started hearing about fuckboy in high school, not
everywhere.
Before.
Yeah, 2013, Run the Jewels' first album, fuckboy became a hugely popular insult, and it had no meaning at the time. Like, it was just, a fuckboy, whatever, he's a fuckboy. Oh, look at that little fuckboy. It can't possibly not mean the same thing as the F-slur. It's just that, like, what that word meant never meant gay person. It meant, like, the Louis C.K. joke, quit being a fucking suck that dick. Like, it just, It's an attitude that comes out as people from Phoenix are Phoenicians, and that is a fuckboy attitude now. Like, that's just how we describe a fuckboy, somebody who's like, and like the fact that the attitude can be codified. Like, now that we've separated it from the gayness, now we're looking at like, okay, well, if this person's not gay, why are they such a fuckboy? And the answer is like, oh, they just don't know. Like, they don't know that, like, being laid doesn't mean being like an obnoxious, pretentious douchebag. Like, girls don't like that, They think that that's what's going to get them laid, is like dressing like a hipster and acting cooler than everybody, So like,
wait, that doesn't get you laid? That's how I
It
got
does
with
if you look really good and you have good taste. It doesn't
okay.
if you're a hipster and you're wearing like scarves and talking about movies no one's heard of and saying people from Phoenix are Phoenicians and you're a fuckboy, you know? So yeah, like I think all of the definition fuckboy now has is because of the fact that we've had to figure out what the hell this thing means apart from being a replacement word for the F slur.
Yeah. Let's get into the next comment. They say, I think YMS gets a ton of shit, like way more than any individual camp would think possible. And that's why he only goes after arguments he 100% feels he can beat. He made 30-plus minute videos about people complaining he brings up movies he hasn't completed and people saying he miscounted how many times the Indiana Jones theme is played. And even then, his initial posture is pretty defeatist, like assuming that even the dumbest and most pointless takes against him will be accepted. But that's just a theory. A gay theory.
A gay theory. Yeah, I do appreciate this comment because obviously YMS gets tons and tons of shit. And specifically what I was trying to say in the video was he doesn't get shit for saying the F slur. He probably does. That was totally unfair of me to implicate that he doesn't because he probably does. And I realized that like as soon as I said it, it was like, well, I haven't read his comment section in any video. Like, I've heard him say the word, never in like a main channel video. It's always been in like some, you know, offhand vlog or some other shit. But like, yeah, he's a gay man who's very defensive about like, you know, these words don't have power unless you give it to them. And I hang out with other guys and we call each other this word. And like, so my point was just simply like YMS hasn't been canceled. He's not like constantly got people going against him for saying the F slur. People are more concerned about him not finishing movies before giving them a score than they are about the language he's using. So, you know, like just point being like nobody's complaining that a gay man is saying the F slur except for probably other gay people who aren't comfortable with it. And even then, there's probably not that many of them. And even then, they probably feel uncomfortable about correcting another gay person about their experiences. And so, like, the point I was trying to make is, like, if I said the F slur, yes, it will make people uncomfortable. Yes, they will unsubscribe. They won't say anything. They're not going to come at me and be like, you can't use that word because, well, like, who could if I couldn't? But like, you know, it's the fact that I choose not to, not because I would be offended or anything, but just because I know there are people listening who, you know, who are going to have to then go through the whole road of thinking about why or whether I'm allowed to say the word. And I want you to pay attention to the fucking video, you know? So
this also brings up one of my experiences with showing somebody a mint salad sauce, specifically the Shrek review, and how there's like a bunch of swearing in it. And it made me kind of cringe just watching my video and being like, I know what you mean. There's too much swearing. I can't show this to adults, like actual adults. So I totally get what you mean by the self-censoring stuff, just censoring for your own sake. I'm definitely going to do that more in salad sauce.
I've been doing this a little bit more, especially my latest anime video, and I've done it in a few of them, but you see this in lots of anime content where people like to diffuse how fucking corny and ridiculous you sound by just pointing out that, like, yeah, I'm a freak and a weirdo for liking this stuff. Like, my Senpai Ga Uzai video is called, like, you know, it's about me. I'm a creep. Yeah, because I'm a weirdo. In this video, I'm, like, saying I wish this show was hornier. And, like, my stance is, like, this isn't necessarily right of me to think. I don't think it would make the show better, per se, but it's what I want because I'm disgusting, you know? And, like, the whole video, everything I'm saying is deeply embarrassing, but I'm laughing the whole time. The whole video, I'm constantly, and then she is like right at his dick height, you know? And so, like, the audience is totally in there with me. They get it. They're like, yeah, I feel embarrassed too, but and it has led to all these commenters willing to admit that they feel the same way, which I didn't expect. I thought it was going to be people like, no, I kind of like that the show is more chaste, but no, like, all the comments are, I totally get you. I'm like, yeah, I wish it was hornier too, but like, I made it so inviting to feel this way by coming off charismatic and like, I get it. Hey, you know, I'm just saying, I just kind of want to jack off when I watch the cartoons, you know, don't we all agree? Hey, you know, like that.
You gotta be the first one to say this opinion, and then all these other people will come out and all the gates will be flooded. And
yes, the open
all
the
of them will be
floodgates.
here. Yes.
Yeah. All right, I think you have one more comment for me.
Yes.
I would like to read this one.
All right, Bird. You have the honors.
This comment is from Leet Simba. I just read that because we were talking about The Lion King. I feel like it's topical.
Yeah.
4515. Are you also dating a trans person? I've seen photos of you who I know you're dating, and they look like a cis woman to me. Which is a strange sentence on the face of it because, well, I guess two sentences.
For a few reasons.
Because they ask if you are dating a trans person, and then they say the person they think you're dating is cis.
So I think how this was meant to be read is, are you also dating a trans person? Because I say I'm trans, so they're saying, is your partner trans too? Because it just looks like a woman, but you're saying it's a man. So they're thinking you're dating a woman who is a trans man, or you're dating a trans man born assigned female at birth.
Sure.
And that's why it looks like a woman. I responded to this, if the person you're talking about isn't 6'5", it's the wrong person, because there's obviously plenty of photos and imagery of me out there with other partners. So it could be a mistake, but at the same time, I don't want to assume that it's a mistake because Bird's a little effeminate looking. Bird does not look like a biological woman by any stretch of the imagination, no. But this, I was about to say, this raises an important question. Yeah, did my previous partner look like a biological woman is also is a worthwhile question. So, it can be a little confusing to know who this person's talking about, what information they're seeking, but we will learn. I will get to the bottom of this because I need to know.
Yes.
I think I really like those. Those were really good choices of comments. I'm glad to have responded to them. I don't think I have anything to add because I feel like that was everything I still had to say, I just said. Some of which, hopefully, I don't regret anything I just said because I do feel like I'm showing how the sausage is made a little bit, but that's like, I also like doing that. I like everybody to kind of understand that, like, this is the way the world is. Like, we are all on
transparency.
We're all on this stage, like it's a weird thing to tell to pull back the curtain while also telling somebody that you are playing a character who's pulling back the curtain. Like, the curtain can't go all the way back. I can't pull it all the way back. I can only pull it enough to show you that it's a curtain. So that's like what I'm trying to do here is like, look, I'm not trying to show you the full picture. I just want you to appreciate that there's more to it behind the fucking curtain, and that's what's important to me.
Well, Bird, do you have any final thoughts? And Trixie, do you have any final thoughts?
The room was sitting in as hot as balls, and my balls are hotter than balls. So I would like to get out of here.
I would like to tell everybody to go and subscribe to the ASE Presents channel. You're already on it, actually. If you're here and you're not subscribed, subscribe. You need to be watching Mint Salad Saw. You need to be subscribed to the ASE Presents Patreon. And you need to be watching this rising star, because when Mint gets like ridiculously famous and none of you took advantage of the opportunity you had at the ground level, you're going to feel really stupid. And I'm going to feel like a fucking genius.
You're going to lose all of the credit of saying, oh, I actually knew her before she was popular. You could be one of those people by following.
This is the only chance you get.
Now.
You have like a month before you can't say that anymore. So like this is all you got if you want to be on the ground level, close to the ground. We're a little above the ground level, but if you want to be close to have a little hipster cred when it comes to name dropping Mint Salad, this is the place to be. And check out Yig Studio, obviously, as well.
I have a couple of voicemails that I want to play for y'all. Let's start playing number 1.
Hey, Voidgazers, it's your good friend Riley spelled incorrectly. I got a question for you today. So, for most of my life, I've thought that rap was gay and stupid and bad. But, more recently, listening to the new Voidgazers podcast and talking to some of my friends who are in the, SoundCloud rap scene, I'm kind of thinking of, giving it another look. So, what are some rap albums and artists that you guys would recommend to me as somebody trying to get into hip-hop and rap? Thanks, guys. Great show. Keep doing what you're doing.
Straight Outta Linwood.
I would say
Linwood.
Good Kid, Mad City by Kendrick Lamar is probably the ultimate, like, intro to rap of this generation. It's unfathomably important and influential, so, like, everything that comes after it has heard it. It's incredibly good. Look into it if you need to understand it more. Fantano's review is really good. He did like a whole analysis basically back when he used to do things like that. You know, and we have a new podcast that is just started, entirely focused on music discussion. We discussed Kendrick Lamar at great length. We reviewed his album Damn, which is one of my favorites of his. It wasn't everyone else's. I wouldn't recommend it as the first Kendrick album. You should definitely go Good Kid, Mad City is the place to start. But, you know, we go in depth about hip hop on that podcast. We're going to be reviewing our favorite stuff all the time on there. So, like, that's the way to get into hip hop. Listen to the podcast every week. Keep up with what we're talking about. If we mention something in a positive light, you should be listening to it because we obviously think it's good. So, you know, just literally anytime you hear one of us say an album we think is dope, go listen to that and you'll be fine. Oh, and also, I really appreciate that guy's name was Riley spelled wrong.
Riely.
Yeah, I just keep seeing Reilly from people, and I just can't even comprehend how you could think Riley is spelled that way.
Well, for along the lines of hip-hop, this isn't 100% hip-hop. This is like a fusion, but still hip-hop. It's the Trombone Shorty album, For True. Good picks, good trombone. There's also a lot of hip-hop elements. It's a good transitionary from hip-hop to jazz and vice versa. Yeah. It's overall just a great album, and I highly recommend it.
All right, let's do the next voicemail.
Hello, this is Tasteless. I just want to say my voice thought is VR. Fucking virtual reality, dude. This shit is the fucking future. I recently got an Oculus Quest 2. It is the future in general, but specifically for art, this shit is going to be fucking amazing. I've been using a lot of, like, crazy apps, a lot of cool artistic apps, a lot of socializing apps. Everyone on VR that's socializing right now is a fucking, like, weirdo artist, old man type shit, you know, like, because, like, no normal person is getting on VR to socialize. Only, like, fucking, like, people with, like, motives are on VR to socialize right now, because it's so early. And either way, like, art's going to be fucking changing through this shit. So I just want to know, like, that's my void thought. I want to know if you guys have any void thoughts on, like, VR virtual reality, what's to come.
Ooh.
Bye.
VR. Man, I'm excited to eventually get into VR drawing. I don't know when I'll get into that, but that'll be very fun to do. When it comes to VR,
the technology is, like, at the level that it's accessible to the average person, yeah, we're all going to be in there.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm just very excited to play a lot of games. I know VR isn't like photorealistic, but I think it has a potential to eventually. And when we get to that point, it's gonna be so great. It's gonna be like Ready Player One. We're gonna be in VR headsets in 2044, and our stacks of trailer parks, and it's just gonna be great. We're all going to be going to virtual school, whatever.
We're going to be blood bags on a blood farm, hooked up to. Yeah. It's just going to be, you're going to lay on a bed, you're going to have tubes that go in and tubes that go out, and you're going to have a VR headset, and that's life. And we're all going to be
fat.
It's going to be fucking awesome. It's going to be way better than regular reality. But the most exciting thing about VR art to me is just, like, you can mold anything with your hands. Like, it's just mass does not exist. So sculpture is just, you know, you just create matter from thin air and then sculpt it. Like, so
it's like I'm God.
I think right away 3D sculpture is going to be a big deal. 3D immersive experiences, of course, you know, like for independent artists, I think it's going to be a lot of, like, sculpting and painting in VR, a lot of 3D painting and stuff like that. And yeah, I've kind of been anticipating this. I have one of my many unfinished books that I started about 2 years ago is set like a few years in the future, and the main character is a VR painter who just, you know, sits around in a headset and doodles with their fingers and makes stuff appear. So and the way I handle it in the story is that, like, people have their own private rooms, which are sort of like art installations. So you just, like, have somebody come into your little space and they can look at all the stuff however you have it set up. So I expect all that to be commonplace in like 5 to 10 years. I definitely think VR is the future. I think it's the future in a lot of ways that are fucking terrifying. Because like I said, I really do think we're just going to be blood bags hooked up to VR machines.
Yep. We're going to be on treadmills with our VR headsets, walking through nature.
Not even on treadmills. It's going to be... Because eventually they're going to figure out how to make it so you're... Like, the sensation is all just in your brain. You don't need to move your body. Like, your brain gives signals to your body to make it move.
But then you die and get fat and you get
the bed
gross.
will do... Okay, there's a movie from, like, 1989 called Rojin Z from the same director as Akira. And it's about... They create this ultimate chair that you just put an old person in this chair and the chair does everything. Of course, this in the movie, the chair turns into a rogue monster and it's a black comedy sort of horror film. But, like... You know, this is what I actually expect the future to be, is we're going to be in a bed that, like, exercises your body to make sure you don't get bed sores. And it, like, when you see the way it's imagined in the film, you go, like, yeah, that's going to exist in 5 years. Like, that bed is real. So, yeah, it's coming. We're going to be
I don't like that
bags.
reality.
You'll like it when you're in the VR, is the thing. Like, that's what made the Matrix work. It's like everybody wanted to be in the Matrix because it was dope and the real world sucked, you know? So.
It has to be like a generational thing. Like, I know us, we have the real world, so we're obviously going to prefer the real world. However, incoming generations are just going to grow up with VR.
Before long, the next generation will figure out, like, they'll find a way to be... to actually cancel everyone older than to death. Like, we will actually be canceled out of life for just kind of, you know, like, well, at some point, it'll be a social revolution such that anyone born too long before it is so outdated in their mindset that they need to die. That's the excuse that'll be given. And we'll all just be wiped out. Anybody, like, born before a certain time. That's my prediction.
Well, I hope we meet that threshold.
Yeah, right?
Shout out Tasteless. Thanks for calling in. Love that guy.
Yes, that was a great call.
Yes, that was a great voicemail. Definitely enjoyed hearing it. So now let's go to...
Podcast. ISMA podcast. Bring it back. Bring back the ISMA podcast. Fuck you.
I don't really want
I wonder what podcast this person wants back.
What podcast does
ISMA is the Insufferable Social Media Argument podcast, which was originally I did with Monkey Jones. I brought it back with the Unknown Otaku for a while, who would be down to do it anytime. But
I want to see you do it with
I don't really want to do
Anime Man.
Anime Man?
The Anime Man, yeah.
I think you mean That Anime Snob.
That Anime Snob,
yeah.
that is who I'm thinking.
The Anime Man, I would love to do any show with. He's very famous and popular. It would be great for my career. But,
and a great guy.
That's what I've heard. I've never met him, so I'm not going to speak on that. But I've heard he is a really great guy from literally everyone who's ever met him. But yeah, as for Insufferable Social Media Argument, I mean... you know, people don't say those things about the hosts I've done that show with before. But yeah, I just don't really want to do like a hyper edgy, goofy show. And I don't know, me and Unknown Otaku didn't quite have the same chemistry as me and Monkey Jones. And even then, me and Monkey Jones half the time did not want to do the show. We showed up, like, we canceled half the time. We showed up drunk as shit and like half dead. So I don't know, that's a show for a depressed person to make. I would encourage, like, okay, I'm surprised there hasn't been a copycat show yet, because the format was just making up bullshit. Like, the entire show was like, oh yeah, Donald Trump shat a land bridge from the U.S. to the U.K. and now like it fixed world commerce and stuff. Like, that was the idea. So anybody could do that, and they should. And I could do a version of it that's maybe less edgy, but it wouldn't be the same podcast.
Right. Man, this sounds fun. Let's check out this next one.
Hello. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Big fan. I'm just wondering, whatever happened to that My Little Pony lecture? Everybody was very excited for it, but it sort of disappeared. What happened to that? Also, whatever happened to the Pleeb and the Wee Blu-rays? It seemed pretty cool to get those. So, yeah, please answer our queries. The people want to know. Thank you.
The Brony lecture, I think everybody knows, was canceled because of the fact that, A, it was made pre-transition, I transitioned not long afterwards. It's not very good. I edited like 15 minutes of it. And just I felt like I had missed so much shit that needed to be added back in. I had a whole conversation about this very publicly with the people involved, but yeah, it was bad, so I threw it away, and I will still most likely do something similar in the future, because Generation 5 is just now kicking off its show, and I'm pretty excited about it because I watched the movie and I gotta say it was pretty good.
There's a new show?
Yeah, and there was a Netflix film. Yeah, there's a chance that there'll definitely be some pony content in the future that might have some new pony art for it, because we got a in-house artist who can draw me a more anatomically correct pony character this time. So I know you're probably one of the people who was bothered by that. So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun, and yeah, you should check out Mint. You should check out the season 5 movie, because I actually enjoyed it quite a bit, and I think you might too. So yeah, I'll have to get you to collaborate with me on doing some art for a review of that.
I only got as far as the point where Twilight gets her wings, and that's when I stopped watching the show. That's season 4?
That was all Generation 4, and now the new generation starts in a world, it's like in the same universe as Gen 4, so like the same sort of logic and rules of the universe apply, but it's set far enough in the future that the 3 races of pony have no contact with each other, so they totally all don't even know anything about each other's culture. So the movie is about the main 6 coming together by way of literally oh my god, you're a Pegasus, you supposedly eat people, and I heard that unicorns shrink our balls and make us gay, and that's basically the movie. So it's pretty fun.
Oh, amazing. It's just a fun tale about ponies trying to get everybody happy and loving each other. It sounds like amazing. I got this last voicemail. Let's play it right now.
J'ai plein de cœur pour le problème de la traduction, les podcasts et télévision. C'est ce qui présente qui les restent people pour simple factifier traduit et qui l'écoute.
Okay, I can't. I don't know what he's saying.
Qu'est-ce que c'est cool avec les podcasts? C'est ce que tu peux faire. C'est que tu peux descarrer des scolaires, coupleurs, des maîtrises culturelles. Tout ce que tu
Oh my god.
penser en général avec les podcasts. Tu es aussi pour ton tes public, oui. Les noter, trouve.
Was that it? It sounded like it clicked, but there's still 10 seconds left.
Okay.
What in the fuck? That guy, so he clearly had to have taken his message in English, translated it into French, and then read it, and clearly doesn't know how to read French.
Or
it sounds like he's saying English. It sounds like he's saying speaking English with a French overtones accent, so it's hard to tell.
It did almost sound like he was just speaking Pig Latin. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he reminded me of if you ever seen the movie The Princess Bride, the pastor when he's marrying them, and he's like, well, to have and to hold. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
I have no fucking idea what he said.
I have one thing to say, and that is, je ne parle pas le français.
Are you challenging him to a fight?
No.
He's challenging him to a French off.
Okay. All right, that's all the voicemails that we got. If you want to leave a voicemail and leave your void thoughts for us to listen to on the show, call 202-681-8643 or 202-681-VOID.
Void. This episode is void now. It's over. It's done. My channel is Yig Studio. I am Trial of the Golden Witch as a musician. You can find me on trialofthegoldenwitch.bandcamp.com. You should subscribe to all my social media at Golden Witch Fire. And what about you, Bird? Where are you at?
You can find me at Storc, BIRDSTORC, on all social media platforms, including Cash App. Give me money.
And I'm the absolute unit. It's been Salad on Twitter and Instagram. And I have an NSFW Twitter. It's Titsman Salad. Go check out our Patreon at patreon.com/ASC Presents as well. You get some extra content there, such as vlogs and some salad story time. You get to watch me read a book, and I stumble through words, and it's very funny.
I like it.
Anyway, that's the end of this podcast, and we'll see y'all later.
Void, 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 void.